sit on the couch.
All right, so I guess we are live now.
We are live.
So wow, this is a very new thing for us to be doing. But hi, welcome, I guess. You want to start things off then?
Hello, my happy alpacas. Oh God, it's so weird with other people in the room with me. Hey everyone, it's Happy Paca here, and we're doing a run of our Axe-Factor D&D campaign for our game design class, and we all hope you'll enjoy this. It's a very funny campaign. It's hilarious, and I've got some very close friends with me here. It's gonna be absolutely amazing. Close friends and teammates. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves if you feel like it?
All right.
No good.
All right, fine. Hi, I'm Brad, and I'll be doing some of the voices for the characters in game today, the NPCs anyway. But yeah, I hope this turns out really well. My first time doing this, so wish me luck, I guess.
All right, awesome. I guess I'll go towards the end. So you want to jump in now?
Hi, I'm Caitlin. CaitlinRenee.art is my handle. Not much to say. I'll just be sitting and observing and taking notes. If you have any opinions, if you guys want to let me know in the little sidebar, I will definitely be looking out for those.
The maps are hers. They look great.
They're fantastic.
All right,
We got all the art.
One other person besides myself over here. You want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Matthew Santel. I'm a moderator of the chat right now, so I'm gonna be just watching, taking notes and stuff as well.
He's gonna be putting you in timeout.
Yeah, if you do things wrong, he will put you in timeout. So, guess that leaves me. Hi, my name is Dixon. I was responsible for a lot of the narrative that y'all will be playing through today, or that some of y'all will be watching today.
He's completely insane with how much he writes.
I am.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Probably the same with you and I and Caitlin with the art.
Yeah.
Yeah. We go a little crazy.
Some people draw. I can't draw, but I can write, so that's what I do.
There we go.
On the side, besides general college stuff, I help run a fairly new startup channel called Cell 411. We're pretty much bootleg Game Grumps, so go if you want, check us out.
I'll possibly be doing a collaboration stream with them sooner or later, so if you guys want to see me be as stupid as I normally am, go ahead and go subscribe to them and look out for that in the future if we decide to do it.
Yeah, we're currently gearing up for a larger kind of playthrough of Persona 3, so that will be a thing.
I actually never finished that game.
Yeah, it's a great game.
It's good.
So for now, we're just kind of waiting on some last minute stuff, waiting on some of the final players to come in, so just bear with us then.
We're waiting for the final players. We have a couple others right now in the chat. Actually, we have a couple in the voice channel, so if you want to get into the voice channel.
Yeah, can we get some of the people in the voice channel to shout out to us?
Yeah.
They're not. You didn't join the chat.
I should be.
Are you?
All of them on.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yep.
they're in here.
Yep. All right. Let us just adjust volume on you guys because you are a little bit quiet.
I can turn myself out.
All right. Nope. I got it. That should help out a little
We had
bit.
you turned down.
So much better.
All right. Hey guys, how are we doing today?
I'm tired. I woke up 30 minutes ago.
That's the life.
All right. Excellent. So, guys, we are currently streaming while we are kind of waiting for some stuff to happen. So, in case you guys did not hear, hi, I'm Dixon. I'm going to be y'all's DM today. I wrote a lot of the narrative content for the module, so I'm anxious to see how it goes.
Sweet.
All right. So yeah. If you guys want to introduce yourself, I have most currently of y'all's character sheets. Zen, I think I'm missing yours.
Yeah, it's uploading right now.
Sweet.
Just taking a little bit.
Zen takes forever on every character sheet. Don't worry about it. I'm Trevor, and today I'm playing a character named Kimberly the Unbreakable. He's a male fighter, level 1, and he's a giant boy with a soft face.
Oh, that's
Excellent.
adorable. Let's go get big boy.
I'm so excited.
Are you a good boy?
He looks like a good boy. You can see the art.
He's huge.
Oh, I can't see
But
it.
It's on the
Game
Discord.
Makers chat.
It's on.
Oh.
Yeah.
I put them in there for you guys.
All right. Who else we got?
I'm Shrivet, and I'm going to be playing Riel Husher, a thief.
Alrighty. Awesome, awesome. And Zin.
My name is Zen. I'm going to be playing Owlet Willowin. He is a wizard. He's very, very inexperienced, though. And everything's still uploading, so I can't show you.
Alrighty.
Which is unfortunate.
Working on it.
Oops. Here, hold on. Yeah, I tried. Hold on. I'm going to
Alrighty. In the meantime, just to go over a few kind of general things for you guys. This is probably not going to be like the normal kind of adventure you guys have played. It's formatted quite in a different way than a lot of them. It's pretty fun, we think, but there is a lot of randomization that happens in these, and the main form of like the core kind of gameplay is a lot more free form than you guys may be used to in terms of what it's actually comprised of. Yeah.
This isn't like.
That was the most specific yet vague thing I've ever heard.
Oh yeah, it's very specific, very vague. Sorry, what was the question?
This is like first edition, isn't it?
Based off of AD&D,
Yeah,
which
it's
is
a retro clone.
pretty much a retro clone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our fourth player is unable to make it. Can we
All
do
right.
3?
So yeah, looks like we are going to be going with a 3-person group for now.
Should still be fine.
So yeah. So as soon as we get that last character sheet in, I'm going to look over stuff quickly, and then I think we will be ready to start.
Yes, and here we go.
Do you guys have any questions for either me or anybody else in the group?
I don't think so. I don't, personally. I'm just ready to go whenever.
I have some questions that I'm gonna
Copy.
cover. If I can't remember them, it might not have been that part. No.
All right. Well, if anything comes up while we're doing this, feel free to ask. I will respond. This is a playtest. There are probably going to be a few things that y'all will notice that need to be worked out. Towards the end, we'll probably just have a kind of small time for y'all to talk about that kind of stuff. Any major points or like feedback or anything y'all have during the course of this, feel free to say them.
Cool.
Yeah.
So did you get this?
The sheet.
Wait, hold on, wait.
Oh my god, is that?
Okay,
Is it because it's on such a big...
no, I just,
Oh.
no.
Did we get it?
I believe I did just see that come in. So
Oh yeah, there it is.
It's right there.
Yeah, I think we got it.
Alrighty.
The art's still waiting, but we got the stats.
yeah, and that's what
That's
we're
what really
getting.
matters.
Yep, yep,
We can include your artwork later. We can throw up their stat sheets really quick probably.
All right.
Oh, sure,
Some
yeah.
point.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Let me get those up. So we have one current stat sheet right now for Owlet. So we got those, and then we have our 2 separate stat sheets for Riel, was it?
Yeah.
All right, for Riel, and then for Kimberly.
He is a soft-faced boy.
Yeah, he is a very soft-faced boy.
I love him.
He's
my
great.
favorite.
This is gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Again, I do not DM very often, so please be gentle on me. Yeah,
Don't worry, you got a couple. You'll be fine.
yeah, but it should be fun. Yeah. The benefit is I'm going into this having written most everything, so if something doesn't make sense, I can try to make sense of it. All right. And as we go along, how do we want to do images for this?
We should probably just throw them up onto the main live stream feed through the through the drive.
All right.
Unless actually, are you guys watching the stream right now?
No, it didn't get linked in the main chat.
Oh no! I'll take care of that.
If we would go ahead, yeah, link that real quick because that's how we're going to be putting images up.
If I do that, my
Well, actually, do we have the images? Does everyone have the images?
Images.
Do they have the maps?
I got.
You have the maps. Do you have the maps?
If you can put the images in the Discord,
I have
then.
the maps.
Yeah, I can do
Put-
that.
just
All right.
The maps are on the Dropbox, not Dropbox.
Drive, yeah.
Perfect.
All right, so it looks
timing.
like then we will indeed be getting the images
On the
into the
Discord,
Discord.
Where
It'd
what,
be better quality for them anyway.
what
Yeah.
channel do you want me to put it in? Just the playing.
Put it player channel. Put in the player channel.
Okay.
When they're called for. When they're in a certain area, just go ahead and throw the maps on.
Roger that.
I got. This will be like one of the one shots from the other DA chat. I mean the other Discord chat. Forget I don't use this Demon Art chat anymore. That stuff sucks. It sucks.
Haven't heard that in years.
You disconnect 24/7, and Demon Art's like, I don't like you. Demon Art's not a fun place, kids. It's where dreams go to die.
Fantastic advertisement.
I mean,
I'm just kidding, Demon Art. I love you. Don't hurt me.
she's not wrong.
Ah.
It's where innocence goes to die too.
Pretty much.
Second use remote without a safe filter.
Oh god.
Oh.
Do not. There are certain things
Kids
that
at
can.
home, don't do that.
Yeah, there are certain things in life that cannot be unseen. Sadly, I have seen some of them.
Wait till you're 18, then you can do that.
Oh god.
Even then, don't do it.
Yeah, not safe for work, more like not safe for life.
You can tell this is gonna be fun already, huh,
Oh, yeah.
players?
Hope so.
Yay.
I'm noises.
I would say don't be, but
I'm noises.
that would kind of
Can't
be being
speak.
hypocritical at this point. So.
Same.
It's fine. It's
Dixon,
just
do you need the mod folder?
a bunch of people.
I got it.
Why do you have to say it? Now all my foolish mistakes will be shown to the world, and I don't know how to speak.
All right, we almost ready on the images.
I got a few ready, so whenever you're
All right.
ready to go.
Are we all pretty much ready?
Sure.
Sarah just left.
Yeah, Sarah just left.
I mean, yeah.
She has to go get pizza.
So yeah, Sarah is going and getting the food that is outside for us. So
Because we need to eat
We're all
too.
starving.
yeah, we have not eaten, most of us today.
We have no rations in our inventory.
Yeah, we are all out of rations.
I had no rations to start with, so there's
Wait,
that.
I get up at like 8 every morning.
That is true. I said I get up at 8 every morning, not that I like do things productive at 8 every morning.
Y'all, I got up at 12:30.
Say no, I can beat that. I got up at 2.
Also, studio, am I gonna spend a lot of this looking at a JoJo's icon? Is that just Kira?
That's
Is it Kira or Gappy?
It's Joshu.
Okay. Oh god, that's even worse.
The worst boy.
That is the worst boy.
That mouth
Picture
though.
It's just him screaming.
What?
They cut it off at the mouth, so I was like, this is just so perfect.
Oh god, it's horrifying.
Good controller.
Yeah, I mean, between yours and mine, we just have 2 JoJo's now.
Yeah,
Too many JoJo's in one place.
perfect.
Is that a JoJo's reference? God. Alright. Hi.
There's a windstorm
Alright.
going on.
Let me go ahead and.
Alright, I'll just put the cover in if you're ready.
Alright, sure, good.
Alright. Dragging and dropping.
Stardew Valley.
Yeah, it's alright.
I didn't know that's what we were playing.
Go ahead. We are ready whenever you are.
Oh, I got the pizza, so I think we're ready.
All right.
Thank you.
Are we ready to start, guys?
Hopefully you.
All right. So let us begin.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
So, as of lately, the realm has been in utter, absolute chaos. King Louis the Rational has recently decreed that everybody send, every region of his land should send a small delegation of their most skilled, citizens in order to compete in a large tourney. The letter went out several days ago, and this is what it said.
Hold up. To my darling subjects, it has come to my attention that a new plight faces our beloved kingdom. Everywhere from Redene's Calates, however you pronounce that word. And even my very own left big toe is now threatened by this great evil. Dullness. The fact is, most of you are incredibly, outstandingly, stupendously boring. You go about your sad little lives with sad little jobs and sad little concerns like getting enough food or keeping your children away from kobolds. Such trivial matters have made you incredibly boring to watch, so now, as your ruler, it falls upon me to remedy this issue. As of today, I decree that all provinces of this kingdom must send a delegation of the most talented among them to my castle. Upon arrival, all delegations must represent their land in a charming competition I have named the Axe-Factor Tourney! A series of contests to showcase the talents of their home village. Those delegations who succeed shall be rewarded with riches and mysteries beyond their wildest dreams. But be warned, should a delegation's displays not match those of other provinces, they and the ones they represent shall become sad, dull trash in the name and treatment. Speaking of which, I remind all subjects that the realm-wide supervised trash burning will be delayed by a week due to the Axe-Factor Tourney. Threats of immolation aside, I am thrilled to serve alongside two of my hand-picked advisors as the judges of this tourney. I look forward to welcoming your talents into my regal home of Standelstadt. And I cannot wait to visit the towns or ashes of my beloved provinces after the Axe-Factor Tourney concludes. Yours with a crown, slight nausea, and a nasty itch on the buttocks, King Louis the Rational.
And that is what the letter has said. So, understandably, after this letter has went out, all of the provinces were kind of in a frenzy. So, most of the provinces grouped up. So now there are 8 super provinces and the poorest one, where your delegation is from, Nemanet. Now, most of the Nemanetians just assumed that the small hill before their town prevented any offers of teaming up with any other province was preventing them from getting those offers, but have since realized that really nobody wants to team up with the poorest region in the whole country. So therefore, they have picked through their records, their jails, their taverns, found a small group of people, patted them on the back, and shoved them in the direction of the capital. This is your party. So, your party begins to approach the final ascent up to the capital. You are on the road to the palace at Stattenstadt. The area around you is cobblestones with light dashes of confetti that looks vaguely old, somewhat moldy, littering the ground. There is a very, very poorly made banner dangling from very, very poorly made supports that simply says, "Welcome." A beggar somewhat disturbed looking, very elderly, somewhat frail, sits underneath, gazing at the banner with what can only be described as a mix of lust and kind of distaste. Your party is free to take which actions they please. What shall you do?
Okay. So, hold on, just so I can get my bearings. Did you say they just got off like an elevator type thing?
You are currently walking up the road to the gates of the palace.
Okay. So Owlet is kind of closing in on himself. He's really like nervous about this whole tournament thing. He doesn't really know why he was picked over other people. But he is a prodigy. But anyway, so as he gets closer, he's gonna turn around to the other people that he participated with. He's just like, what do you think's gonna happen? Do you think we're gonna die? Hope we don't die. Hope we don't die. Hope we don't die.
Don't be silly. We're not going to die.
Yeah, I think we'll be alright.
I have complete confidence in both of you.
So he's like breathing really hard, and then he kind of snaps back forward, and he's just like, "Who's that?"
He snaps back to reality. Can I have my dude? Can I have Kimberly go up to the beggar and give him 10 gold?
Alrighty. You go up to him and give him 10 gold. What would you like to ask him?
Nothing. I'm just being nice.
He looks at you, kind of expecting you to actually ask him a question, but takes your gold anyway. I mean,
He cocks his head to
Yeah.
the side like a confused dog.
he's quite surprised at your generosity, but really kind of assumes that you want something out of him. This is clearly not a man who's used to receiving charity without a price.
I just look at him and I'm like, you know, if I'm gonna die in there, then I don't really need gold. So, yours.
Fair enough.
So much confidence.
Fair enough, beggar says, looks at you, and asks which province you are from.
The one that the DM just said.
Ah, yes, Namanat. Y'all are late. The beggar then explains to you that you are the last to arrive. All the other provinces had come before you in a very large parade, and that is the gross confetti like kind of lingering on the ground there.
How long ago was it?
About a day.
Yeah, that makes sense over the last. I mean, we didn't exactly want to come anyway.
Figures. Only way y'all are leaving's probably a coffin anyway.
I was like, how scary did they look strong?
The beggar?
No,
He's asking the beggar if other provinces like
Meh.
strong.
I wouldn't know. Just,
Are you blind?
I mean, nah, just not a really good judge of character, I guess. Hell, I just sit here and ask for gold. That's my job. What do I look like, some sort of therapist?
I know, you look old and decrepit.
Indeed. There's an honest one right there. Listen to her.
He really just looks at her like,
Yeah.
"Don't just say that."
He kind of tilts his head at her. He's vaguely amused by it. I mean, his feelings are slightly hurt, but he does appreciate the honesty at least.
He's been around enough people who've done worse.
Yeah,
so.
he's used to people kind of pushing the daisies around him, so it's a little bit refreshing for him to actually hear an insult.
Why should I lie?
Yep.
I mean, I guess you have a point.
Honesty is the best policy, the wind says.
At this point, the beggar's kind of looking up. He's a little bit surprised that y'all have actually been staring at him for this long. Clearly, he's wanting more gold, although you're not quite sure if the information he's going to give you may... You know, he could give you something after that. He could not. He kind of could go either way at this point.
He's not going anywhere.
I don't have any gold left.
Eh? What good are you then?
That's a good question. Got a big sword, I could cleave you in half and take my gold back.
I mean,
I'm not gonna do that, but I could.
he seems vaguely intimidated, but also he kind of has this whole come at me, bro. He's looking at you like, all right, well, if you're gonna do it, do it. If not, then don't, please. Like, I'll take it or I won't take it.
He's like,
Either way, make up your damn mind.
I was like, Kimberly, you can do this now.
Yeah, I'll save my bloodlust for the tournament. I don't want to kill anybody, but if I have to, then I guess.
Well, guess I'll look somewhere else then.
Good idea.
Gonna happen one way or the other.
Oh.
Thanks. Well, having been satisfied by the answers he has received and the questions he has given the answers to, the beggar picks up his stuff, pockets your gold, and half limps, half walks away in a manner that can only be described as awkwardly enthusiastic.
Me too, dude.
I'd be enthusiastic to walk away from this place.
He turns around as he is walking off and just kind of nods.
That raises the question though, why don't we just walk away from this place? I mean, yeah, our province is in trouble, but why don't we just move?
That would be awfully unkind to our province.
Yes.
Sure.
Your province will probably be burned to the ground and you'll be hunted by dogs.
Yeah, essentially.
God, the wind is really chatty today.
The wind is very chatty today.
I'm just offering friendly advice.
A guard from kind of near the gates, past the banner, gives you this look like, wow, you really want to do that? You feel a vaguely judgmental presence.
I look back at him like, I shrug.
He shrugs too, along with the great axe in one of his hands.
I put my hand on my great sword, and I'm like, with a look like, I dare you, but I walk.
well, he's a guard. He's gonna have that around anyway.
To that effect, he motions back, and you see about 6 others behind him.
I look to my party, and I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not gonna win that fight, so I just waltz inside.
All right. So as your party enters through these gates, you see the presence of even more guards, all of them wearing armor, all of them carrying some form of menacing weaponry. As you walk in, you see what appears to be almost a half amphitheater type arrangement. In the center of, right in front of where the stage will be, sits a small, rickety looking desk. To the left of that desk sits a very scratched up small post. As you kind of start walking your way down this area, a large amount of guards start lighting everywhere possible but towards that desk. As you walk towards it, a very small, strange-looking man appears with a long white beard, a very tilted crown, and this voice.
Welcome, new performers! How you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I, being the king of the country, King Louis the Rational, welcome you to the Axe-Factor Tourney. You're late.
Oh
I'm just messing with you. You can take your spot at any time.
What would I roll to see if this is actually what the king looks like? Would I know that off the top of my head?
The king does not make very many public appearances. So you've kind of heard that he is just generally has a white beard, wears a crown, somewhat of an older looking figure, but you've never quite seen the portrait before. It's not circulated very often. You are
Especially not to Namanette.
yeah, especially not to Namanette.
And if you're close enough, you can smell something awful.
Yeah.
He doesn't smell right. Smells kind of like underwear.
Okay.
So
looks strange.
He's shorter than me.
What was that?
He said you're very short.
I didn't say that.
Why, thank you. I take that as a compliment.
I didn't say that. I said you're taller than me.
No, you didn't.
Why are you lying?
The king just stares at you with his one good eye.
He's just like, yeah, really pretty eyes.
He just continues to stare.
You sense that he might be drooling slightly underneath the beard. You're not quite sure, honestly.
Can I anything for you? And he offers like
Sorry?
he goes like, could I do anything for you? And he kind of bows a little bit.
Well, you can take your place. You can do that, can't you?
Yes, I can do that.
Wonderful! You've already met the first of the requirements. And he just kind of takes his staff and kind of like scratches his butt a little.
Oh.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So the king is going to proceed to tell everybody about the rules of the tourney.
Ah, crap.
Yeah. After he finishes drooling slightly, there's a little bit of saliva still on his mouth, and he is trying very hard to suck that back in before he begins talking.
The guards keep
Yeah.
trying to offer him.
The guards are one of the guards is kind of looking at him like, "Are you okay? Like, is he dead? Can I go home now?"
None of them want to be there, but they'll do their job.
None of them actually want to like voice this opinion because they're very afraid of getting their heads lopped off. But they're all kind of thinking it. They're not all just quite saying it yet.
Rule number 1. You must come up with a very specific skit, if you will. A show of talent from all of you. No unprovoked crime, and any crime that is discovered you'll be disqualified in the most harshest and discriminate way possible.
Essentially, the king explains that you will be forfeiting your place in the tournament along with any consequences that would occur for you losing as well.
Rule number 2. He kind of like leans back as if he's almost about to fall over. And then comes right back up. Any participant cannot venture outside of the village backstage unless explicitly given permission by yours truly. Any attempt to escape, see consequences of rule number 1.
At this point, the king looks at you and kind of like cocks his head to the side, stays silent for a bit. You feel that this may be the time to either ask him anything or to do any other actions you so desire before he finally realizes that he should be talking.
I raise my hand.
Rule number 3.
The king falls silent again and then looks at you.
Okay.
Only participants, vendors, and tourney staff can enter the backstage. No visitors. None.
The king stares at you again.
Particularly at your soft, soft face.
It's very sweaty at this point.
Sorry
because
about that,
he's
people.
nervous.
Let the tourney begin! Confetti.
One of the confetti cannons gets stuck awkwardly. The king has to shove his staff down it to get it to work again.
All right.
Explodes in his face, and there's a bunch of confetti now stuck in his hair.
Yes.
He kind of sits still for a second to wait and see if you guys have any other questions before the party continues forward.
No, he doesn't have questions for the king, but they're not. Are they the only province there, or all the other?
All of the other provinces have arrived.
What do they look like? Are they intimidating?
They're of various statures, heights, builds. They are all waiting in the village backstage.
Okay, I'll let him like stick close to Riel, and he doesn't like this center of attention. So when he found out that he had to do this skit, he's just like having a mini heart attack right now. That's okay.
He'll be fine.
So Kimberly looks at him and he's like, "What's your favorite kind of skit? What's your favorite genre? Do you like horror? Are you a comedy man? Are you action sci-fi? What's your whole,
Favorites come and go. Depends on the mood.
You have an idea that the king will never make up his mind until right before a performance is announced.
Seemed rational enough. So they turn to his group and is like, "Okay, I'm not much for acting. I don't know how to act. So
He
what do we
squints
do?"
at you.
He squints at you, and the king goes on to explain in a voice that will give certain voice actors a rest from having to strain said vocal cords, that the contest can really be anything: juggling, shooting things, lifting logs above your head. Anything that would make you seem impressive given the topics he shall provide.
Okay. Okay. As he explains that, Kimberly's like, "Oh, never mind. I got this. It's fine."
The king seems somewhat pleased with this decision. He may view your understanding of this, or he may just be staring at your shoulder. Particularly, there's like one little fly buzzing around near the group. You're not sure if he's looking at it with annoyance or if he's
So
really
it's
hungry.
The fourth candidate. The fourth.
Yeah. It's... Maybe he was expecting 4 people. Maybe he thinks the fly is the 4th participant. The inner machinations of his mind are an enigma.
Can I try and catch the fly and hold it out to the king?
Sure.
How would I go?
Roll dex.
Okay. Sweet. What's my dex modifier? +1. So that's a 17.
Alright, so you catch
Oh,
the
wait, no,
fly.
it's +1, it's just a 16.
You catch the fly. It's squirming a little bit, so when you catch it, you kind of break half of its wings. You show it to the king, and you hear the king's stomach kind of audibly growl. He looks at it and shortly tells you that even though he would be in the mood for a snack, he never eats food that could be given to somebody else.
Okay. He gives it to Owlet.
Owl's like, what am I? What is this?
He's like, "Eat it."
He pulls Kimberly to the side. He's like, "You want me to do what?"
The king looks like his stomach was growling, but he doesn't want to eat it. See it.
He's like, Kimberly, can't eat this one.
You need to make this.
Riel is gonna just grab it. And she's just gonna eat it.
Owl's like,
King just looks at her and is like, not going to lie, I'm impressed. All right then, well, enough of the chitter-chatter. Let us get to your quarters. As the king says this, guards approach from both sides and begin to kind of push your group past the stage, through the back, and into this area that can only be described as a small village.
Hang on.
Fancy.
Where? Oh yeah, here we go.
Oh, you got it?
A village which the map shall be coming shortly.
Yeah.
It's taking time to load in.
Yeah.
To load
Oh,
the
yeah.
screen right
I
now.
got it.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, I got it.
Cool.
For some reason my laptop likes to download while nothing else likes to download on the main computer.
The sheer shock of how awful this village is has made it
Yeah.
difficult to process.
So the village looks slightly like a village should, but clearly a lot of the architectural details got kind of lost in the process. The only really well-constructed thing of this village are the walls. They are very, very thick logs, pointed ends, decorated with what can only be described as the worst drawn smiley faces you have ever seen. Somewhere to the left of where your party is currently standing, you see this big, almost nomadic tent, decorated with some very, very colorful flags. There are a few livestock pins behind it. Some sheep, some goats, some chickens sit in those. And then to the building behind that, kind of in the distance, you see what looks like a tavern, only if a tavern was picked up by a tornado a few feet in the air and dropped. Everything's vaguely tilted. You may be able to see slight bits of yarn. There's a lot of it, and something is clearly on fire back there. You're just not quite sure what. To the right of all of this nonsense, you see several large tents. Some are round, some are very much rectangular, one of which is your party's.
One of them has actually cows sewn into the side.
Yes.
Some have pants sewn into them, and some have shirts. It just looks like they were made last minute.
The king has followed you kind of to this area. He gestures kind of wildly at a tent, says, "That's yours," and then runs off.
Yours happens to be the one with the cow sewn into it.
The guards follow. One of them kind of turns to you as they follow the king, rolls his eyes and goes, "You'll get the performance tomorrow. Don't expect much." You are currently left on your own until the night is over. You have free roam of the village of Backstage.
Alright, question.
Yes.
So when you said there's a cow sewn in to the tent, I'm guessing it's a cow sewn in, right?
I mean, no, it's a full cow. It's
just a
probably,
little cow there?
it's mostly dead actually at this point. It's kind of vaguely moving slightly. It probably hasn't been fed in at least a day, so it's close, but it's still alive.
I'm gonna go up to the cow and feed it my rations.
The cow is very grateful for that. He moos happily, and you get the feeling that he will remain still at night, so your tent is not ripped out of the ground.
Sweet.
You have appeased the cow.
Good for now. Okay. In this area, does there seem like anything that's really, really heavy?
Really heavy to lift?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some buildings, the most sturdy building being the bar that looked like it got picked up and dropped again. You get the sense that it's probably hard for one person, as strong as they may be, to lift it. The tents themselves are pretty sturdy. There's some stakes on either side. There's some logs, some crates, several things around that could potentially be lifted.
Okay. What do I have on me? I don't have rope. Never mind.
Oh, wait.
We go by road.
No,
Okay. I want to go to the tavern.
All right. So, you approach the tavern. Out front, you see a sign that declares it as the Forcibly Merry Gnome. On this sign is a gnome that can only be described as having lockjaw, tied to a post, throwing what looks to be up a mug of ale, with a very large, awkward grin on his face and fire in the background. In the distance, slightly beyond the doors of the tavern, you hear shrieking. Loud shrieking. And you hear what sounds like something soft and squishy flinging itself against the walls. A singular staff member, covered in what appears to be mashed potatoes, wanders out looking slightly dazed through the doors.
What kind of tavern is that?
I was like, what happened? He was talking to her, but then he stopped himself and then turned to Kimberly like, what happened?
I have no idea.
And then he turns to Rio like, what happened?
It looks like they have a lot of fun here.
The bar staff who has walked out looks up at you and just kind of shakes her head like, oh god, why? Why would you say that? You hear a secondary shriek from inside the bar.
I mean, as long as we can get some information and whatnot, and find an advantage, maybe? If we can see what our competition is, we can get some sort of edge on them. I mean, we don't have to be great performers, we just have to outperform them. That's, yeah. So, the more info we get, the better.
Okay. And so, Owlet, like, resolves himself and go into it.
Alright, so you enter the bar.
Yep.
And immediately you are greeted by a small little spattering of peas flying directly to your left. As you look up, there appears to be a woman who can only be described as somewhat similar to a weeping willow, shrieking at you, a spoon in her left hand, and some more peas being loaded into them. You get the feeling that this is the bartender. On a table to the left, with all sorts of mashed potatoes around them, you see somebody sitting, staring into their beverage at the table. A man. He has a sword at his side.
Owlet kind of like in a little ways at the bartender.
Bartender throws peas at you.
The bartender throws the peas at you that she has loaded into the spoon again.
Owlet is very stunned. He's just like Kimberly.
Yeah. What do you want me to do?
Bartender throws a pie at Kimberly.
I catch it.
Roll dex.
Roll dex.
I don't catch it. I got a 5. I do not catch that pie.
The pie kind of like smashes like into your like lower kind of chest area. It's kind of gross. I mean, clearly it was sitting around for a little bit. You don't take damage, but it smells god awful.
Oh.
I want real to look at what kind of pie that was.
You want to roll for intelligence on that?
Oh. That's not one of her strengths. Oh, but I rolled well. 17.
All right, well, you can tell a lot about the pie from this. It appears to be, at least used to be, some form of meat pie. You can tell based on a little bit of larva you see that it was probably left out for a few days before it was thrown. And you can tell by the stench that it was probably haggis.
Oh, okay. Well, she looks at that and she's like, oh, you see, I was actually going to eat some of that, but doesn't look as appetizing. Close it up.
She shrieks and points at what appears to be a menu on the left area of the bar, with meat pie being one of the options for about 10 copper. Or 1 silver, depending.
I don't got any gold on me anymore.
She shrieks her disapproval.
I'm sorry. I didn't think I need it, personally.
Bartender throws mashed potatoes.
She takes the mashed potatoes from the bar. They clearly missed at this point. Like her.
There's a whole outlet in front of me.
Yeah, I mean, she threw the handful. It kind of like got caught on the stool in front of her. At this rate, her aim's kind of hit or miss.
Okay, I'm gonna walk over to the dude with the sword.
All right, what would you like to do?
I'm like, good afternoon. How you holding up?
He looks up. Clearly, he's pretty, like, I guess you could say he's kind of stoic. He's gross. Clearly he does not have a lot of experience talking to people. He is skinny, has green eyes, and ginger hair that is slightly now matted with the mashed potatoes he has been assumedly taking to the back of his head for about an hour or two. Kind of grunts at you, like, could be better.
I can relate to that. Are you participating?
Yeah, Name's Inara from Curiosity.
Nora, nice to meet you. Name's Kimberly. Yeah. So, what are you doing for the tournament?
Huh? They call me the Stardust Crusader. I do things.
I feel like that's a reference to something, but I don't really know what. Do things like what? What did you say?
Swing sword.
That's I can relate. I can relate to that.
Good.
What kind of sword does he have? Just like a short sword?
It's a either mid-sized sword, short sword. Could be considered a long sword in some cases. Fairly short though.
Okay.
Kind of has spatterings of probably a few drinks, and again some more of the mashed potatoes on it at this rate.
Bartender throws more mashed potatoes at the guy.
He takes it to the back of the head like a champ.
He looks at the back of this dude's head and he's like, "Are you okay with this woman just throwing mashed potatoes at you?"
Be as good, sir. Honestly, yeah.
Bartender throws a beer.
You get the sense that as long as he has something to drink, he will put up with this.
Can I catch the beer that the bartender just served?
Roll dex.
Just gonna try and catch everything. Fuck yeah. Okay, I got a 19.
All right, you catch the beer. You now have a beer. Congratulations.
You basically catch it like how what's his face from Animal House catches it.
Yeah, I mean it's a good catch. Like you
It's
spill pretty
an
much
awesome
nothing
catch.
out of that beer. You are now holding a beer.
I give it to him.
All right. He thanks you for that. Clearly, he has not caught a few, and clearly, based on how many he has actually caught, he would not be catching any more after this. He is more than slightly drunk at this rate. You get the feeling that's the only reason he's still putting up with the mashed potatoes to the back of the head.
More mashed potatoes hit the back of the guy's head.
Sorry. It's like, ask him where his buddies
My
are.
friend wants to know where your buddies are.
Somewhere. Maybe at 10. Dunno. They didn't want to drink with me.
That's a shame.
Not surprising. They said I was stupid.
I don't think you're stupid. I think you're a bright fellow.
Thanks. Maybe.
Problem. So he's drunk at this point.
Very.
I want to. And where's his sword on him?
It's kind of just on, like, it's beside him on the ground. It's kind of like leaning up against the table leg, kind of a little bit on his leg as well.
Does he look drunk enough to where I'd be able to steal the sword from him easily?
There's a slight chance you would be able to nab it. You get the feeling that even though the bartender seems to be an incoherent mess with mashed potatoes, that her louder scream after this may attract some people nearby. If noticed. You also get the sense that the king would potentially not be so kind if you were to be found out in this instance.
It's true, I'm gonna try it.
Alright, so roll dex to begin with.
Sweet. I got a 19 again.
Alright, so you get the sword. He kind of trips and falls as more mashed potatoes hit him. This time it's in the face, so he's slightly more annoyed, even though he is still very drunk. He looks at him like, "Oi, knock it off." As he does this, he kind of leans forward, trips slightly, and in that span of time, you grab the sword and you put it behind your back. He looks up, seemingly doesn't notice anything's wrong.
Okay, I put my dagger where his sword used to be, so it looks like his sword just shrunk.
He looks down and he is incredibly shocked at this. Looks down and goes, "Huh? Huh? Huh?" Visibly, he is not quite sure whether or not he has reached that point in drinking where his perception's really that bad. He's still just kind of grunting incoherently, and at this point, between the mashed potatoes and the alcohol, he finally gives in and passes out right in front of you. Head on the floor.
Bartender just throws another pie at him.
Oh, this poor dude.
At this rate, the bartender's kind of waving her arms about, like, in a weird sort of, like, victory dance.
Owl's gonna be like, do you think we should leave him a gift or something?
I left him a gift. I gave him a dagger.
That's not good. Okay, I mean, real. Didn't you say that meat pie was good? We should give him a meat pie.
No, that meat pie was not good. Not good at all.
Owl's just like, well, what do we learn from this?
We learned that if I steal everything from everybody, then they can't compete as well as we can.
Have you forgotten the first rule?
As long as nobody finds out, then we're good. And kind of. Okay, Kimberly's gonna leave.
All right. So you walk back outside. At this rate, it's a little bit later in the night. You can see that the sun is now starting to go down. You kind of assume that in all the craziness, mashed potatoes and peas and very, very old meat pies, that some time has definitely passed.
Oh, that reminds me. I'm gonna wipe the gook off the front of my armor as best I can.
All right. It's mostly gone. I mean, there's still a little bit of a lingering odor, but nothing that should be too permanent.
Where? Oh, so there were the other tents, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's the P-E-E.
Yes.
The P.
There is the P.
Yeah, let's go to the P.
All right. So as you approach the P, you see... Ooh, boy. You see a lot of multicolored flags are on this large nomadic tent, the slight baa of the sheep in some of the pins as you pass, and finally a large, slightly better lettered banner that says, "Welcome to the Participant Equipment Emporium." Behind one of the tent flaps, you can see a very huge, bulky armored guard, and a man that looks vaguely like a rodent attached to him.
He does look vaguely.
The man has a pouch of money on his belt, a very, very wide, toothy grin. You get the sense that he might just be the proprietor of this establishment.
Ooh, customers, welcome. Welcome to the Participant Equipment Emporium. I am Sliermont, and I am the proprietor of this fine establishment. How can I help you this fine evening?
The guard looks at him with his kind of gaze and grunts, as if meaning to say, "Don't you dare."
And this is Brutus.
Nice to meet the two of you. What's in this room?
There's a bunch of equipment kind of littering there, the area. A few basic supplies, torches, rope, a crude little symbol depicting like the sheep, so you assume the livestock out back are for sale as well.
Okay. Is there like a staff anywhere?
There are some basic weapons, yes.
Okay. Kimberly's gonna turn to Owlet and, what is your character's name again, Short?
Real.
Riel. Okay, he's gonna turn to Owlet and Riel and be like, "Hey, could you guys swap me some gold since I gave it to the, guy outside?" And,
That was your mistake.
I know, but I have an idea.
What's your idea?
I mean, we should train beforehand, yeah? If I can get by the livestock, both of them, the rope and the staff, I can make some makeshift weights out of them, so we could stop training.
That sounds very silly.
It sounds like they're pretty heavy and they get us buff real quick.
Yeah, in like a day.
Yeah. We have a day. We could train all night.
And then we'd be exhausted tomorrow. Why are you thinking of this?
was like, okay, fine. It's cool.
Slurment, during this conversation, kind of slips a little piece of paper closer to you, and it lists that sheep are 4 gold each.
You could pull a charmer.
And what would I have to do to get them for free?
Slurment kind of leans in and looks slightly shadier. You can see a little like bead of sweat kind of trickle down his forehead.
Well, if you're willing to purchase some other goods, I could throw it in at a discount.
Right as he says this, Brutus picks up his greatsword, slams it into the ground with a large force, and Slurment jumps about 2 feet in the air, looks at you, and makes this quick motion like he is zipping his lips back shut. Brutus looks down and simply says, "Parole, officer," and looks back up.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense.
Got caught, did you?
No, I didn't get caught. You got caught.
That's what I was,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Real was taught, like, Real was kind of like, they said that he was pro officer, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Real just kind of, like, leaned down a bit to the dude with the green hood. and
Slurment,
was
yes.
like, got caught, did you?
He just kind of silently nods and gulps.
That's a shame.
He nods again, faster this time.
Alright, that's all she says.
He looks at you kind of like, stating the obvious now, ain't we?
Yeah.
How much is the rope?
The rope would be... Let me find the handy-dandy price sheet here. Slurment kind of rummages around for all these papers. The rope would be... Slurment rummages harder.
He's like digging through the inventory now.
Yeah,
grabbing
he's
them.
like... You see all sorts of weird stuff fly by. There's like some paper towels randomly in there.
And
Snake
Brutus is
oil.
just
Literal snake oil.
And Brutus is just staring. Like he's not even like he doesn't even move much. He's just staring.
He just kind of looking around like, oh, same stuff as always. Clearly, Brutus is used to this. Finally, finding a long-lost sheet that is kind of like gross at this point, he tells you that hemp rope, about 50 feet worth, would be about 5 gold.
Okay, so all I was gonna ask his friends. He's gonna be like, we have to figure out what we should do for this performance.
Right. How much is your sword? He points to Brutus.
Brutus kind of grunts, indicating that his sword is vaguely special. As you lean in, you can see that it is kind of engraved with what appears to be a note that says, "Love from Mom."
My question still stands.
He just leans
Brutus
over
kind
you.
of leans in and goes, "The emotional value is priceless."
How tall
and
is your
leans back out.
character?
My character is 6'11".
He's like a good 7 foot.
7'8". 7'8". This man is huge. He's a bear.
He's a little bear.
He is
Or he's
like,
on stilts.
he could be. We don't
Roll
know.
for perception.
You can't see very far into that helmet.
Okay.
Would you say Real was close enough to hear that exchange?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, cool. So with him just being like the emotional value, she's just like, that's adorable.
Thank you.
He like nods at
You're
you.
welcome.
He leans out. Actually, he's kind of vaguely touched by that. He really doesn't get a lot following somebody like Slurment around all the time. So he's a little bit happy that you've given him a slight compliment.
I ship it! Couldn't keep my mouth shut for long, sorry.
Okay. Are there swords in the equipment area?
Yes, you notice one in the back. You notice also that there is a small thing hanging down from it that indicates that it is around 35 gold.
Ooh, that's a steep price.
Indeed. You do, however, notice that there is a staff below that that is selling for only 1 silver.
Kimberly wants to work that. Alright.
Really, well, okay, I guess I'll have him explain it to the group. It's like, my idea was to buy the sheep and at least get used to lifting their weight so that I could try juggling them in the competition. But
That is very strange.
I mean, if it's a feat of strength that I'm going for, then I feel like that would be a pretty good one. But now I'm thinking with the swords that I have, I could try to juggle swords, because then that adds a bit of danger to it. If I juggle all of them at the same time, I feel like I'd have a good standing. But my generosity has bit me in the butt a bit.
It sure has. But that sword juggling thing sounds really cool.
Maybe it was Riel's compliment. Maybe it's just that he honestly needs some good in the world. But Brutus leans kind of closer to the group as this conversation is going on and just kind of whispers, "Wait until tomorrow. With the random stuff this king does, you never know what he'll want." Leans out, kind of whistles, looks around. You can tell he's kind of trying at this point to admit that, or to not make it clear that he just said anything.
What are you gonna say? No, I'm kidding.
Brutus looks out and kind of gives you this nod like, exactly.
Kimberly smiles at him and nods his head. And he's like, well, I guess we should just go to our barracks for now, if we're not going to buy anything.
Do
Yes,
they have
yes.
any potions or anything?
He has rations. But currently, no, he does not have any potions in stock.
Okay. Yeah, all it is all over.
All right. So, as your party goes out, the sun is indeed past setting. It is night, and you go to the tent with the cow. The cow kind of moos, happy that indeed you have fed it for the night. You walk into your tent. It is, it's fairly nice. There's some cots around. The ground is still under it. There is no tarp or anything, but it's fairly soft. You put your bags down, and there are essentially just, again, about 4 cots in the room. The 4th one you sense will not be filled this night. And you feel like this is pretty much all there is going to be in this room.
I look to the group and I say, we should take turns keeping watch during the night, just in case some of the other competition decides that they want to sneak in and sabotage us, if you know what I mean.
Carl was like, you want me to be a guard?
I mean, if it keeps us from getting killed, yeah. Or getting our stuff stolen before we can do anything.
I was just like, I get it.
I mean, you don't have to do it right now.
No, I'll do it.
Okay.
The only other like contestant thing that was the one in the bar or the tavern, right?
The only one you have seen so far is the one in the tavern, correct?
Yeah, I was about to say, we should check out the other competition.
Yeah.
To see what we're up against, what kind of people. So Kimberly will suggest out loud, hey, we should go walk around and, see who exactly we're up against.
rest up before tomorrow.
Okay, I'm gonna go check around. If you guys want to sleep, I'll take first watch.
All right.
I just want to do a quick sweep of the area.
Alrighty. Is the whole party in agreement then, as of now? All right. So you walk outside. It's fairly dark out. There are a few torches. You know, there's one kind of outside the P. There's one near the livestock, and there's one near the bar where you can still hear very, very faint, although almost snore-like streaking still. Somewhat similar to... It's fairly quiet out, although you do see one person coming out of their tent, looking around, their legs slightly crossed. Clearly, they need to go to the bathroom.
Hey, you should go to the inn. Or the tavern. I think there's a bathroom in there. I mean, it smells like one, so you'd probably be fine.
The person you see from across that area, with said legs crossed, quickly snaps his head up to you, snaps his head to the tavern, hears still the vague from it, and runs behind the tavern, assumingly to do it there instead of inside.
Okay, cool. Is there anybody else awake currently?
Not that you can see currently.
Okay.
You see some faint lights inside the other tents, but it may be best to leave the other provinces undisturbed for now.
Alright. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll just go back to the tent then.
Alrighty. So, are y'all gonna all sleep it off for now?
Can we stay up until for like another couple hours?
Alright.
So that I can make sure stuff doesn't get stolen and then go wake somebody else up.
Alrighty. So, your Kimberly's shift passes fairly uneventfully. Nothing really happens. There's a slight breeze at one point. A bird is heard chirping in the distance.
That's weird. That's an ugly bird.
It's attached to
Hi,
her.
you're a beautiful bird, probably. I can't see you. But
Tavern
it's
keeper
weird that
standing
you're
on her
in the middle
roof.
of the night.
Yes, I am a beautiful bird.
Oh. I didn't realize you could talk.
Of course I can. I'm King Louis the bird.
Oh.
You look up and kind of poking his head over the walls near your barrack. King Louis is just kind of there. Apparently he's been making bird sounds around multiple areas.
Hello.
He stares at you quite intently.
Do I have anything? I give him a whetstone.
Well, thank you very much, but currently I am clinging onto this wall, so it's a little bit hard to pick up right now.
Okay. What if I just put it in your mouth?
Very well then. The king opens his mouth.
I stick it in.
Thank you! And then he quickly as he was there, jumps over the top of the wall and vanishes.
Roll perception real quick.
Okay.
Everybody in the room roll perception.
Oh no! I don't know. Oh no!
I got. Well, what is that under wisdom or intelligence?
It's under wisdom.
Wisdom.
Sorry, repeat that. You cut out for me.
Wisdom.
Okay, then it's just a 15.
Alright, it's 15.
What did everybody else get?
Got a 4.
I rolled pretty good, actually. I rolled a 19, but plus 1, 20.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So,
you and Kimberly both.
Yeah, Riel, as you and Kimberly look up at the king vanishing over the top of the wall, you notice sadly that he was not wearing pants. It is a full moon out tonight.
Oh.
That was wonderful.
Oh joy.
I suppose it's her shift now, since she's up.
Yeah.
Yep. I suppose Riel is probably not going to be getting much sleep after that. Not every day one gets to see a regal bum. I mean, it was a little sweaty, but nah. Just a butt. Very, very unattractive. Wrinkly slightly.
Why was it sweaty?
I mean, the man was climbing a wall. He's quite old. That's pretty much exerting for
He's
him.
been pretty much doing that for a while.
Yeah, I mean, he's
for
been-
like multiple tents. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You have a feeling that's not the first tent he went to do that.
You gotta keep it limber.
Yeah, I mean, he finds exercise quite important, this
Yeah,
man.
even crazy kings have to keep up their regular cardio.
I guess so.
I mean, he is a fan of acrobatics.
Some of us run marathons. Some of us climb walls and moon people. We all gotta do it somehow.
Mm-hmm. No judgment here.
So Riel's on watch now.
Yes. So, thankfully, Riel's shift passes without event. No more somewhat dressed kings. No more birds, quote, quote. Dawn is now approaching.
I guess she just wakes Owlet to do his shift.
All right. So, Owlet, you take your post as well, and the sun is now starting to come up. It's thankfully that horrendous vision was only one of the night. So, as the dawn kind of comes, you see some of the other participants starting to kind of rouse themselves as well. You see a couple bleary-eyed warriors and adventurers here and there, stretching, yawning, belching, scratching their armpits.
Just all kinds of.
All kinds of people. You get the feeling that this is a very diverse group that has come to compete from all of these different provinces.
All the way to, I think it's time to go.
All right.
Oh boy. Okay. I want to look around at everybody.
All right.
Does anybody look buffer than me?
1 second. What's your strength at?
My strength is 17.
You see one man in particular from the tent of Unaliva walking out who looks slightly buffer than you. And another female from the Curiosile tent who walks out as well. Kind of.
Kimberly starts to sweat.
Yeah. You see the woman who walks out kind of kicks that man you saw earlier and his now very, very small dagger to the side as she steps out of her tent. You get the feeling that they are from the same delegation.
Oh,
Okay. So everybody,
you look nervous, Kimberly.
a little bit. So everybody, what's the general emotion around?
I mean, clearly there is an air kind of confusion from everyone. Everyone's also just kind of, clearly doesn't exactly know what's going on, but clearly the stakes are there. They know that if they are ejected from this tournament, both them and anybody from their homes will die.
Okay.
Besides that unspoken, horrifying tension, everyone seems to be in a fairly good mood despite that.
Okay. And how many guards are around?
You can clearly tell there's some, there's a bunch posted around the walls. Towards the exit where the stage is, there are a lot more. And then there's, of course, Brutus back at the P. There's one or two kind of milling about the entrance to the tavern. They appear to have one of them, a tomato, stuck on the back of their head. They are very unamused with that currently. You get the feeling, though, that on the other side of that large wall surrounding your village and backstage, that there may be a lot more guards outside of that.
Okay. So I saw probably. Did I see all the guards that would be attending today yesterday?
Most likely, yes. You have a feeling that a few of them are specifically for the king, that they are the king's bodyguards. But that many of the guards that you see stationed around and that you saw the day prior are going to be there.
Okay. How many would you say were there, or would I need to roll to figure that out?
Perception, you'd have to roll fairly high, I'd guess, to know the exact number of the ones outside of the walls as well as inside of the walls.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably not gonna hit it. I got, a 10.
All right, so you see about 5 guards at least visibly between the tavern and the shop, and you see at least 4 more near the entrance to the stage. You hear some noise from outside that indicates clearly that there are guards beyond the walls, but you cannot tell how many.
Okay. How many people are in attendance?
All right, so there are about 4 people besides your province, which has 3. And there are about 8 teams there, so that makes about 32 people plus your 3 who are competing in the Axe-Factor Tourney.
Okay. I'm gonna have Kimberly bring his friends closer so that they're kind of like quiet. And he's like, you know, if we got everybody on the same page, we might be able to just kill the gods and get out of the tournament itself. I mean, if we band the provinces together against this ridiculous king, like, we might be able to, like, fight back. I mean, they came together already anyway for this competition.
Kimberly, what you're suggesting, you want us to kill the guards? I've never killed them.
I mean, they're gonna kill us if we
The
fail
guards?
at this. I mean, someone's gonna kill us if we fail at this. And everybody in our town. But if all of us come together and, you know, act as like one unit, one nation against like this clearly deranged king. I'm sorry, this clearly rational king. We might have a chance.
Did you see that guard yesterday? Did you see the size of his soul?
I could take him. I could take him.
Kimberly, he was taller than you.
And what? Shut up. Just because someone's taller than me doesn't mean I can't kick their ass. Shut up.
Reminder, he was just a parole officer.
I'm not crying. Look, that's all I'm saying, is if we all band together, I feel like we'd be able to get out of this relatively easily. Maybe not easily, but we'd be able to get out of this and get to the provinces and try and convince everybody to band together. I mean, they already band together already. They already came together as a nation and formed 8 super provinces. So, like, if we just kept doing that, it'd be this huge nation against this one king and his guards. Like,
Okay. I can have murder on my conscience. Like,
do you want to die?
I
Do you want to die?
No, I don't want to die. But what if we? Is there a way we can do this without killing?
You get the feeling that the guards would not go without a fight.
Yeah. I mean, I doubt there'll be no bloodshed whatsoever. It's just a suggestion. I mean, if we can convince everybody here that it's a better idea to band together and just bum rush the place, the stage. And there are only like 9 guards here, like in this area. There are 35 of us. We could easily take these guards out, and then we just have to deal with whatever's on the other side.
All right, Kimberly, could you please roll for wisdom, so perception check.
Sure. Okay. That is a 14.
All right, so unfortunately, as this conversation is happening, you notice that that man you saw yesterday, the one who looked like he kind of had to pee, hears your conversation and kind of walks over and is kind of looking at you, like listening in, cringing slightly.
I look at him.
He looks back, cringes harder.
I'm like, hey, buddy.
He kind of twitches and goes, ha, 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 hello.
That was beautiful.
What's the matter?
Oh, nothing. Just looking at your wallet. He eyes your coin purse.
I mean, you can have the coin purse. I don't have anything in it.
Oh, well, that's too bad.
You know what I do have, though?
What?
I have 2 enormous arms who are very good at hugging people, that might need a little hugging, if you know what I mean.
No.
I can choke you out if you squeal.
He looks at you, both with kind of this weird look that says he may want that, but also kind of takes 2 or 3 steps back from you. He introduces himself as Mael, Secretary Junior 3rd Class. He is a member of the Unaliva delegation, and he is a cleric. As he looks at you with his brown eyes, he explains to you that Unaliva, for one, will have no part. As he puts it, they don't want to team up with no Naminates. He is clearly slightly deranged.
I mean, if I'm being honest, our team is about to run yours into the ground in this competition. So why would you want to take the chance of having your team and your entire province burned to the ground if we could all just come together and, you know, like live to fight another day, and hopefully no country today has to burn to the ground?
Well, for one, we want to see the prize, and for 2, Miles shoots his eyes kind of to the left, and there you see one of those large, beefy men you saw walk out of one of the tents earlier. One of the ones who is clearly stronger than you.
Okay, I'm gonna walk up to him.
All right.
Kimberly,
Just trust me, just trust me, just trust me.
He looks down at you and grunts.
What's up?
Hey, what's up? So, I was talking to your friend over there.
Yes.
He points the deranged man.
Male.
And he's
Yes.
like, you don't want your country to burn to the ground today, yeah?
Well, as the former royal who partakes in art, I, Pierrick, don't want that, which is why I am participating.
Would you be alright knowing that if you won today, everybody else just dies and their country's burned to the ground?
He looks up, kind of shrugs, and goes, well, you know, on one hand, yes, that would be very sad. On the other hand, I just want to watch the world burn, and I'm confident that, given enough time, people will try to rebuild those, ashy areas.
I suppose, but you're letting the youth of our country, you're letting literal children and babies, and just everybody in general, just burn alive.
As long as it's part of the world, I'm okay with it being destroyed.
And you know this king is clearly, deranged.
I like him.
Right.
He wants to see the world burn.
I wouldn't say that. I don't think he wants to see the world burn. I think he...
Well, I do.
Well, you can watch his world burn if you join up with us.
Is it the whole world?
I mean, I'm sure eventually, if I'm being honest, eventually we'll all kill each other and this whole world will burn, but we're only here for one session, so I couldn't say that for sure.
Well, I want to see
But-
it sooner than that.
Okay.
I
I'm
will
going to-
watch you burn. He
I'm
stares
gonna
at you
give
with
him-
odd fire in his eyes.
I give him a torch.
All right. Well, he takes your torch, looks at it, looks at you, looks at the torch again. You can tell there's a lot of contemplation going through his mind right now. He is clearly having a very large moral dilemma, and he needs something to push him over the edge at this point, if he is to attempt to burn you.
So So he's having trouble deciding whether or not he should do it.
I mean, he wants to see the world burn. Clearly, at this point, he has made that astoundingly clear. He's just not sure of this is where he wants to start the burning of the world.
He's like, you want the world to burn, yeah?
Yes.
So, start.
All right. So this is clearly enough motivation for him. He really, honestly, anything at this point would have set him over the edge. So he turns and lights the crate near you on fire.
Sweet.
I'll jumps. And he's like, Kimberly, what did you say? Shut up. Just go with her.
At this point, Pierrick is just kind of eyeing the crate, and he's very pleased with himself, but the crate is very much on fire at this rate.
Cool.
It is
I'm
a
like,
flame.
See? Isn't that fun?
Yes.
Why stop there? There are tons of other crates, there are tents, there's everything around.
Pierrick is clearly contemplating this. Can one of you roll for perception? Wisdom.
Sure. 16.
16. All right, so out of the corner of your eye, you clearly see one of the guards walk over. And the guard is clearly at this point alarmed that the crate is on fire. He's kind of approaching that with slight caution. After all, he did just see a man light something on fire.
And he's an incredibly thick boy. So...
And it is an incredibly thick boy, too, who lit this on fire. So he approaches, but as the guard approaches, he steps on this, like, small kind of twig thing, and it makes a noise. Pierrick turns to him, grabs him, and snaps his neck. Pierrick is laughing equally as loudly.
Sweet.
That's the sound of fire.
Like, see? See? Come on, let's keep going. Keep going with it.
Pierrick is
Clearly trying to egg him on.
Pierrick is very poised to do this, but as Pierrick is about to light yet another thing on fire, about 8 of the guards storm in and surround him. Before Pierrick can say anything, about 12 arrows suddenly protrude from his chest.
I was like, he's never seen that.
So he's dead.
Pierrick is very much dead. As his body hits the ground, you hear the very odd laughing that sounds similar to the bird you heard last night.
Lovely, lovely.
As you look up towards the walls, on the kind of ramparts, the walls per se, the king kind of pokes his head over the shoulders of one of these, and just kind of says, well, first team's out. Immediately, the rest of Pierrick's team, who includes Mael, the very, very deranged man you met earlier, is rounded up and is promptly ran out of the village. You can only assume that the delegation from Unaliva, as well as Unaliva itself, is now no more. The other teams who are kind of around you are very much now not interested in whatever you have to say.
Oops.
Riel's gonna go up to Kimberly and kind of like mutter to him, like, I really thought your plan was going to work, but looks like we're out of luck.
The king is still kind of watching from this. The archers stayed on the wall throughout all of this and kind of goes, "Yup." He jumps down off of the archer, drops a kind of a bundle of letters to the guard below the archer, and runs off. The guard then kind of unbinds them and distributes one to each team, including yours.
Okay. I open the letter.
All right. Inside the letter, there is indeed a letter. So the letter states that the first competition will be a test of
Drum roll, please.
dexterity and wisdom.
Oh no.
These are the only words listed on this sheet. The guard who has given you these letters kind of instructs you where to go from here. All right, he says, and he's, this guard is clearly somewhat fazed by the fact that a whole province is about to be burned to the ground, and that a man is now dead. Pierre's body is still just kind of there. No one really wants to go near it at this point. I mean, you can tell that there are a lot of arrows still sticking out of it. About 12 still. One of the guards is kind of kicking him, making sure he's dead on the side. Guard who has handed you these letters further explains that this is your time to go back to the barracks if you so choose to, that the bar is now closed for the remainder of the afternoon, and that you have about the rest of the morning to decide what you would like to do for your competition. To decide what your act would be. And then, after deciding, you must submit both your act and who will be choosing to do what in it to the guards for review.
Okay. So they're back in their tent now?
Alright.
Olive's just like, I didn't do this, Kimberly. I didn't do this.
No. It's fine. So
Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
it's cool. Look, if anything, we've got one team out of the ranking. That wasn't what I wanted to do.
You are left
but
at 7 teams.
Either way, we've upped our chances.
So Kimberly, not
Well-
only is that team gone, their entire province is gone. That could have been us. That could have been us.
But it wasn't.
As your whole group kind of contemplates the fact that you just inadvertently killed potentially thousands of people, you hear the tent flap on your barracks open and a new person walks in. Who is that new person?
Hello. Oh God. Hi. It's Elovi, a cleric with 6 hit points. Protect her.
All right. So Alovi walks in onto this this very chaotic scene and this very awkward silence as the team is contemplating potentially having killed off, or not potentially, having killed off an entire province worth of people. There is very clearly tension in the air.
Hi. Sorry, I slept in. What happened?
You're very late.
Yeah.
Yes, I slept in.
We may have accidentally killed an entire province.
Don't say we. Just say we.
Okay.
You what?
The guards killed an entire province of people.
No.
I
You
technically-
said
if
you
I'm-
did this.
If I'm being honest, if I'm being completely technical, I didn't do anything but talk to somebody.
Oh my God.
All right. At this point, you're gonna have to roll charisma on this one.
Okay.
Roll charm to convince.
Roll charm.
Oh, show. I got a 20, but not a natural 20. Just a 20.
All right. So, yeah, at this rate, you say it with enough smiling and with enough nervous sweating. I mean, even though the nerves are from you killing a whole province of people, that it seems fairly convincing at this rate.
Well, okay.
See, here's the thing though. That was just a test run. We were just trying to talk and the guards just kind of like jumped in.
They jumped on it.
They kind of just, they didn't like what they were hearing, I guess.
Was
Especially since the dude snapped one of the guards' necks.
Oh.
Yeah. That was,
That's bad.
yeah.
You just wanted to watch the world burn.
He watched his own world burn, I guess. So here's the idea that I was talking about, was all of us as a group banding together to, beat this man, this king and his guards, but that doesn't look like it's gonna work anymore. So
It's
we
not
need
gonna
to
happen at all. All the provinces are looking at you like you're an insane maniac.
Yeah. You get the feeling that after witnessing a whole team being rounded off to be murdered, with the implication of the province to follow, that
Talking to
nobody
you-
wants to work with you anymore.
Yeah, talking to you would basically be death.
Yeah.
So we need to come up with a thing. We have to do something related to dexterity and wisdom.
Oh, well, I'm very wisdomous.
Um,
And I'm very dexterous. Wow.
so
Lady's got this in the bag.
Do we all have to do? Actually, I'll ask. Do we all have to participate in this, or
All of you must participate. You can roll for different ones of the two. So you can either choose to roll for dexterity or choose to roll for wisdom. Each party member can choose which one they would like to use. But your performance must be as a group.
Would juggling be dexterity?
Juggling would count as dexterity. You may pitch any idea that you would like on your kind of written act pitch that you're submitting to the guards, but just keep in mind the guards may deny it, although if they do so, they will tell you why.
Okay. Trying to think of a wisdom way to do this.
We juggle while reciting poetry.
Here's my idea. I'll juggle the three of you while you all recite poetry.
Well, no doubt that'd be interesting.
I feel like we might have a chance.
Well, if we do it successfully.
I mean, you know poetry, yeah?
I consider myself a fan, but I'm less concerned about that aspect of it than the other one.
Don't worry, I'm very strong. I'm sure I can juggle 3 people.
You won't drop me, right?
No.
I don't know if
Kimberly like nervously sweats. No, of course not. I would never drop anybody.
Well, if I can believe that you didn't just send an entire province of people to their death, I guess I can believe that you can juggle 3 people.
Would you like to roll charm again?
You betcha.
Go for it.
That was a 3 altogether.
Oh boy.
Oh,
You don't convince her of anything.
don't touch me.
Oh.
Well, that is a very decisive answer on that one.
Well, you're at least not juggling her.
The wind outside of you visibly like flinches, kind of like, ooh, got him.
Ooh, got him.
Okay. Here. Okay, I won't juggle you. You can stand on my shoulders, or like sit on my shoulders, whatever. I'll juggle these 2. You'll all recite poetry and we'll be good. I won't juggle you so I don't have to drop you. That's on you if you fall. Just keep your legs very secure and we'll be fine.
Okay, do we have to recite the same poem, or are we reciting 3 different poems at once? I'm more inclined to do the former, so it'll be cohesive.
But if we do 3 different ones at once, that might require more wisdom and maybe more impressive to see 3 people not only being able to recite poetry while being thrown in the air, but also recite poetry while hearing other poetry being spoken to them.
But this is still like an act. I mean, people have to get something out of it.
The general feeling you get is that this will be based off of also individual achievement, and then the individual achievements will factor into how well you are judged as doing as a group.
Oh no, yeah, we need to each do something on our own, so... Oh no, maybe we have to each do different poems. Olivia looks at the other group members for help. She doesn't like the idea.
To be true, I would prefer making some sort of feat of dexterity than the wisdom part.
What if you were doing flips in the air while I was juggling you? Does that count?
I suppose I could do that.
You hear somebody mention outside from one of the other participant tents very, very loudly that indeed 2 of their group members are doing stuff involving wisdom, and 2 of them will be doing things that involve feats of dexterity. As long as they're doing it at the same time this group talks about, it probably doesn't matter.
Cool. Alright. So, as I'm juggling, you'll do flips and tricks in the air. You will be on my shoulders. I'm pointing to each character as I say this. You'll be on my shoulders reciting poetry. And Owlet, you'll recite a different poem? Should we come up with something other than
We need to.
that?
We have to.
Yeah.
We can't have two poems at the same time.
What's another thing that would be... Could you recite the history of the world as you're being juggled?
That would indeed qualify.
Do you know your history, Alec?
Maybe we should have two reciting things happening at the same time.
Maybe making unflinching eye contact with the king at all times. As he's being thrown in the air, wavering eye contact. That requires some concentration, yeah?
I think that would end in some kind of death.
Okay. I'll just like, guys.
Yeah?
What if I do special effects?
That?
That sounds great. Like what?
I'm a wizard. I can use magic.
Oh, you can. Oh,
You don't sound so sure. You don't sound so sure. Wait.
No, it's fine. That
Please.
could work. What if, okay, here's the idea. I think my shoulders are probably broad enough. I'll put one of you on one of my shoulders, the other on the other shoulder. I'll juggle as, I forget your character's name again. Riel.
Oh,
I keep thinking it starts with an S or something. I'll juggle Riel through the air as she flips and does tricks, and we might be golden.
How will you be juggling me without anything else? I mean, that would just be throwing me.
I have swords.
So you're telling me that I need to be dodging those swords while you're, juggling?
You can trust me.
I feel great about that, actually. That sounds like a lot of fun. Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
So we got our idea.
All right.
That's dangerous.
It'll be fine.
So,
No, it won't be.
so to clarify for your note, you are suggesting that Kimberly juggle both swords and Riel, as
Yep.
Owlet and Evoli recite poetry, or the history of the world.
One of them recites poetry, the other one's going to be using magic and spells in the meantime to do special effects.
I know that wizards use like intelligence for stuff, but if I use it in like an intuitive way, like
Yes, that will be deemed acceptable.
Poem being read.
that would be what?
That would be acceptable.
That will be acceptable.
Okay. Yay!
So Kimberly writes that down.
All right. So you submit your proposal to the guards, and you get a small thumbs up. Like clearly, they're okay with it. Like they don't really pass judgment there. That is up for the king to decide. So the performance time is rolling around now. You kind of wait around. Not much happens during this time. And you see some of the other competition come up, give their notes, get thumbs up. One or two get a thumbs down, bring their notes back, get a thumbs up again. So there's a little bit of back and forth there. As the performance approaches, all of your groups start assembling near the stage, and you notice this row of guards kind of line up behind you, and maybe walking away from this area is not the best idea right now. So, as you sit, kind of stand, mingle around this area, the guards kind of motion for you to walk onto the stage along with all of the other delegations. So, once you're out there, you kind of see that there's a decent amount of people in the audience in this kind of amphitheater area. The king is there, along with two very awkward-looking items on his hand that appear to be socks.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the official performance day of the Axe-Factor Tourney. And here with me today, I have two beautiful judges.
He motions to his first judge on his left hand, who appears to be that of a female sock puppet with very odd-looking eyes and a large pink hat.
Let's just get this over with. I have a pedicure.
She clearly looks like she does not want to be there. The king motions to his right.
Let's do this, everybody! I'm so excited to see what everyone's willing to do. Oh, you're such special flowers.
He seems very overly, way too enthusiastic. So enthusiastic, in fact, that you're pretty sure you can see one of the stitches pop if you look closely enough on his sock. All right, then. Well, this is Judge Clement the Righteous and Judge Beatrice the Leftward. They will be helping me through this.
John! Yes, beautiful, beautiful.
Kimberly is sweating at this point.
Kimberly is right to sweat.
Yeah.
The audience... Sorry?
Lily's holding back tears, her face being decided by sock puppets.
Yes. You can tell the audience in the back is trying not to laugh. They're a little bit bemused by this, but
They're
clearly
also worried,
yeah,
like you are.
they're also clearly worried why this is happening. This is clearly, for some of them, it has not sunk in that this is a joke, but this is not a joke, that this is dead serious. Some of them still haven't quite gotten the memo yet. So, as the king has finished up this kind of thing, he wants to introduce one final guest, and he motions to where the poll was the previous day, to the left of his desk, and you see something a little bit unusual.
Do we have that yet?
Which you will see very shortly.
You see that it is invisible.
Oh no.
I got it.
So,
Oh, you got it.
as you kind of look, you see what appears to be a young girl? Wait, no, not quite right. As you look closer, you see a kobold that appears to be a girl, but is very clearly just dressed as one and is not actually. As the king motions to her, he introduces her.
This is the beautiful princess, to whom you shall win her hand in marriage.
I want to burn our country.
You feel like you may now understand Peric a little bit better. The kobold princess coughs up what appears to be a finger bone, and goes about to just kind of sitting there, as usual, staring awkwardly, hungrily at the audience.
Gorgeous.
Thank you.
The kobold princess does nothing.
The kobold princess just kind of
Stares.
licks at the flies in the air that kind of are like flying around her.
Licks
Clearly,
off some of her lipstick, but Beatrice puts it back on.
yeah. Well, on with the show then. The guards, after that insanely loud noise of smoke, the guards escort all but one of the teams back to behind the stage, including yours, and you just kind of wait there. So as you wait, you can hear a few of the acts go by. Nothing too incredible, nothing too grand, some small performances. Couple times the audience reacts, one time the audience just boos horribly.
I know who's dying now.
You hear some sobbing as that team walks off stage, and finally, after a while, it is your turn. So your team walks on stage and begins the act. So Kimberly, will you please roll for strength to start?
Sure. As we're walking, though, I want to say to the group, is it too late to just run? Is it?
I would say it probably is.
Okay. So strength.
I can't feel my legs. I can't feel my legs.
Hey, come on, you won't be sitting anyway.
So strength to start it off, you said?
Yes.
18.
Alrighty. Is that with modifier?
Yeah, that's with my modifier.
Alrighty, so... Boo-doo-boo-doo. Hold up. Alrighty. So, that is successful. Quickly, Riel, you are able to lift up Riel, prepare your act, and you have your swords at the ready. Now, Riel, would you please roll for dexterity?
Okay. With my modifier, that is 18.
Alrighty. So, quickly, As Kimberly throws you into the air, you adeptly begin to dodge the swords he is throwing subsequently. It's all seeming to be going very well right now. As you kind of are enjoying yourself, the swords fly through. It, surprisingly appears that none of them are bloody, which means you're doing a good job. Alright. So now we turn to Owlet. Owlet, will you please roll intelligence?
You got a 15.
15. Alright. What is your intelligence at?
Is that
Or
with the modifier? Or
What is the what is your modifier?
+1, so you got a 14.
Oh, he got 14, so it's a 15 with modifier.
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty. So, you throw out a few spells. They're nothing overly impressive, but it still seems to get a few wows from the crowd. You think you see one little kid wet himself towards the front. He is clearly either very excited or very terrified. You are not sure which.
The kobold attacks him.
Yeah, the kobold has smelled the scent, and the kobold does indeed bite him. He stands absolutely no chance. He is eviscerated in one fatal bite.
Oh no!
Well, that.
However, the king kind of looks down at this and was, well, you whetted the princess's appetite. Fair success. Doesn't usually get that hungry when watching these.
Oh dear.
Oh, by the way, I'm gonna cook this myself.
And finally, amidst all of this, it is time for poetry. Will you please roll wisdom?
Alright, let's go.
Oh, hell yeah. This bitch just rolled nat 20.
Oh damn!
Oh, wow.
Good job.
So, your poetry skills are flat out incredible. Nobody in the audience has a dry eye. Even the kobold princess
Somehow.
may have aroused
Despite the
something.
lack of
Yeah,
eyelids.
despite the lack of eyelids, you have roused something in her heart, and a singular tear is forming. How it is a mystery worldwide. You are not quite sure if it's just like a little bit of like the bone dust of the child got in her eye. That could have been it. But either way, she's feeling something. Although it may just be heartburn again. It's the kobold princess is very, very conflicted, but
Clement
clearly
is crying somehow.
Yeah,
Beatrice is drying his tears, and the king is just staring awkwardly.
as if into the sunset or the contents of his soul. All right. So as your performance finishes up, you should be proud of yourselves. The whole audience has given you a standing ovation. The king would be clapping, but that would badly damage the judges.
I want to say Riel does a bow that's just like very low to the ground. She's like, thank you.
Do you want to roll for the bow?
Oh yeah, sure.
Dex.
Oh, that's a big bow. Why did I roll so good for a bow? What? Dexterity for bowing?
Yeah.
If you're bowing that low, you gotta have good balance.
Okay, well, 18 plus 3, so...
All right. Well, your bow's just icing on the cake there. The audience erupts
Just as a
even further
backflip.
into applause. You may even dab on them a little bit at that point. Like you are feeling it.
He does not.
And the audience is just eating that up. They love it. So clearly your act has been a success. So you walk backstage. There is one group that goes after you, and clearly the audience has been pretty shell-shocked by the awesomeness of that performance. So everyone now has gone, and the teams are called back on stage to reveal the scoreboard.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the first performance day of the Axe-Factor Tourney, and the results are in! Take it away, Clement! Oh my goodness, it's absolutely wonderful! I just have to say that all of you have done exceptionally well. Some more than others, some less, but everyone nonetheless did well. Just tell them already, Clement. Oh, okay. The winner of today's tournament is...
Namanet.
Namanet!
So, clearly, at this point, there was absolutely no contest. Your group clearly killed it. Everyone at this point is both shocked that the poorest province in the realm has done this well, and also kind of unsurprised that you are the winners of this round.
Some are a little salty, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, several of the other competing teams are looking around like, really? These guys? This group? This is the group that nearly got us all killed, I hope you know. Like, these are the people inciting rebellion. As they go down the list of the 4 remaining teams, eventually it is kind of made clear that 3 of them must be expelled. So as they get lower in the list, both Limolvikis, the province of Limolvikis, the province of Venice, and the province of Asimia have clearly not wowed the crowd very much. They are in lower placings. And clearly they're very salty about it. They're looking at you like, yeah, like they're even louder about their disapproval for you. One of them, as he is being dragged off by the guards, looks back at you and yells, "They were inciting rebellion," to which the king replies, "Rebellion of the audience! Yay!" Clearly he's not having any of that. He doesn't want to hear excuses. So, in that fell swoop, both 3 province teams and all of the inhabitants within those provinces are in danger of imminent fiery death. And although that threat is very much real, and although there is a little bit of sadness that even though you have won, there are 3 groups of very large groups of people that are about to be burned to death. It's still a pretty happy occasion, you know. You're in first place. You're doing pretty good. So, as you leave the stage, the 4 remaining teams, you are each handed a small envelope and 20 gold to be split among all of your party.
We did it, guys.
We sure did it. We murdered thousands of people.
Oh my God. We did no such thing. We did our best, and it was the greatest thing there.
I love your optimism.
Somebody walking by just goes, "Survivor's guilt is deadly."
Thank you for the words of wisdom.
You're welcome.
One of them stares and gives you like the finger eyes, like the I'm watching you eyes, the dagger eyes.
Yeah, they are very clearly like, you may have won this round, but
we will get you.
Don't get cocky, kid.
He's like, don't make me talk to you. Don't make me talk to you too. You saw what happened. Keep walking.
Please never talk to people.
Okay.
Well,
So,
you have the 20 gold and, as well, the sealed letter that came along with it. You now have a good bit of free time to rest up before the next contest is announced.
So, Owlet is still, like, in shock. He's just like,
I'm gonna. Can I roll to hug Owlet?
Yes, you may.
Wait, did I get that one?
Charm, let's say.
Charm.
Yeah, they
okay.
got.
That's 12 total.
Alright, well, I mean, it's like a half hug, like a side hug kind of thing. It's vaguely comforting, but also vaguely sweaty, so, eh? I don't know, may make him feel a little bit better. Hit or miss.
no.
Alright, so you are going to open the letter. Inside the letter, there is a small invitation. Clearly, somebody wrote this, although clearly it has been written in crayon. And as you read it, the author of the letter becomes increasingly, sadly, clear. Here is what the letter says.
Greetings, contestants! Your Excellence in the tourney has won you the coveted prize of dinner with the most beautiful princess and her charming family. I do hope you accept this most gracious invitation. My heavily armed and increasingly threatening guards merely await your arrival. With love, King Louis the Rational.
On the back side of this note appears to be what is a very crudely drawn map. It looks like it's pointing to like a sewer grate behind the forcibly married gnome. You get the feeling that you probably shouldn't decline this offer, but that, honestly, dinner is a while off. It can wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh,
Awful.
we have to, or else we'll die.
Alright. And we didn't get a letter to tell us what was the next, feats that we had to do yet, right?
Yeah, you have a feeling that that will come later. You have a good bit of free time to rest up. Speaking of a good bit of time to rest up, the DM has a very bad case of dry mouth right now. For the DM has not stopped talking. Also at this point, congratulations, you guys have indeed. I got one.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry, you had the red ball.
Congratulations, guys. At this point, you have successfully survived day 1 and round 1 of the tourney. So at this point, how are we doing? How have you guys enjoyed the module so far? This is feedback time.
This is so great. Oh my god.
I really enjoy it. I really like the characters.
I'm surprised we're actually able to pull that off.
I'm so sad I was late.
I mean,
I didn't really have any like complaints. Everything kind of flowed nicely.
awesome.
I haven't figured it out.
I wish there was more fire.
All right. Yeah.
Shot to death.
Gotta love that.
It like the campaign as a whole, like it has like a really, it has like a nice light tone with that, with there still being like a sense of danger. Like I was so scared that I was gonna roll bad and screw up everything.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, you
it's just
definitely
there is a
can.
really good sense of danger.
Oh,
It's
believe
definitely
me.
possible.
Yeah.
It definitely is possible to do that. To that effect, even though thankfully you guys did not have to discover that, there is kind of like a Hail Mary roll system, where if you had you screwed up and act very badly, and had you been in danger of not beating the other team's scores, because we do roll the scores of the other teams behind the scenes, you would have had an opportunity to re-roll one of those stats for one of your characters.
That's cool.
So even though that sense of danger was primarily like a good thing, would you say though?
So like if they're like in place just in case.
Yeah.
I like it so far.
All right.
It's yeah, it's really simple. It's not it's similar to like modern like 5e, but
Yeah, like you said, first edition is really interesting. It's fun.
Yeah.
So do you guys think, actually, that's something I'd like to get an opinion on. Do you think this would be more interesting if it was for the 5e system, or do you like it retro clone first edition, very bare bones, simple?
Simple. It allows more for character interaction and just like I've been having a lot of fun with this so far. So
exactly. But I don't know if I have like a really good like judgment right now since we haven't like entered combat. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
I will tell you that combat works very similar to any other D&D setting right now. The main portion that we kind of figure does take a little bit of place of combat. There is combat in this, but the main loop is kind of what you guys have just experienced.
Right.
Like, the performances do get harder. The way we're calculating how y'all are doing is based off your rolls. Each roll has a plus or minus amount assigned to it, and then we just add those up. So, for example, all of your rolls with the points total to be 13.
oh no, I got 20. Oh no.
No, I mean like as in that's a positive number. You can end up in the negatives.
Yeah.
So like the way we calculated it was based off your score. You will actually, if you have a really low modifier, like if you have a negative modifier, but you roll a nat 20, you're gonna do even better. Than somebody who has a high score, like a high stat and rolls a lower number. So you are like a real talent competition. If you're expected to do something well for having a high stat and you mess it up, it's going to be worse than if you aren't expected to do well and you do a good job with it.
Oh my god, I just got the title.
Yes.
Good job.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. We'll play again.
One thing I was a little bit worried about going into this, did you guys feel like you were railroaded at all?
No, I actually felt like we had a little too much freedom.
All right. Where especially did you feel that?
Just when we were kind of thrown into the village, I didn't really know what we were expected to do. I didn't really know what to do, honestly.
All right. Would you feel that just like having some more kind of DM-based description of certain buildings help with that, or would you feel like that would just be something where somebody would directly tell you, you have free realm to explore the area until tonight?
I think it might actually depend from player to player. I just have an issue with knowing where to go myself. I don't think you had any problems with the descriptions of any of the places. I think you did a good job there.
Thank you.
I didn't know what, like...
So you felt like you had, like, no objective
in that area?
Yeah, no objective kind of made me feel a little lost, just
All right.
personally.
So I feel like having maybe a more guided go look around each of these buildings may help.
As long as it makes sense for
like,
the characters to...
Yeah, I guess, like, the idea we would kind of present then is that when you're dropped off, the guards would be like, the king has asked that you go toward the facilities before reporting to your barracks.
Well, like, what do they do before the tourney?
Once you
I
report,
felt that
yeah.
Too. I felt that you guys were trying to really, like, think of something to do before
Yeah.
the actual act.
And I will say, like, I was not expecting you guys to try to patrol outside.
Yeah, I just really felt that role. That
Yeah.
very well.
And honestly, I was surprised that you guys wanted to rebel. Honestly, I had not actually considered that before.
I kind of figured.
Yeah,
I figured something was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Rebellion was kind of not. I was not expecting that.
Sabotage was genius.
Yeah, I had already prepared for somebody trying to attack the king. The situation in that case is actually defined as somebody has to Mr. President the king. Essentially, if you try to attack the king, somebody will jump in front of him and take it for him always. Yeah, and you'll basically be warned. Yeah, you will be warned at that point that if you try it again, you're out. But I had not thought of you trying to incite rebellion. But did you feel that like that shutdown worked okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right.
I actually did think about exactly what you guys did at one point, but I was
Yeah.
just like, no,
Also,
that'll never happen.
I feel like there is some explanation owed as to Peric. The man who was setting things on fire. That is actually part of one of the cooler systems we have in place. In our game design document, in the whole adventure setup, there is a full random NPC generator.
Oh my god.
For the other teams. Most of those are completely randomized. There's body type, eye, so any of the hair colors or hair types I was mentioning, builds, personality traits, those are all decided in that NPC generator.
So this isn't like the entire... The NPCs you introduced were not like just part of the game in general. This was just rolled for this.
The shopkeeper, the bartender, and the king, with the guards and the princess, those are all already made.
Anything that has artwork basically is already made.
Anybody that you interacted with from another team was a generated NPC from that generator.
That's cool.
Cool.
So specifically, that Peric's personality quirk was that he wanted to watch he wanted the world to be destroyed. He was an optimist. Yeah, he was a prim optimist who wanted the world to be destroyed. The other guy you talked to, Mael, he was criminally insane. Loose-lipped, which is why he was just straight up, I'm looking at your coin person. He was a kleptomaniac. So, I don't know, did you guys feel like those personalities helped define?
Oh, those were
Play more?
blessings. I love
Yeah,
them.
no, I really enjoy the comedy of the characters and their actions.
Alright.
Yes.
Sorry to kind of like butt in with that character generator thing, but I felt like that did require a little bit more explanation.
Yeah.
As to what was exactly happening.
That's the funnest part though about this module is the NPC generator. I feel because it really does add some personality, especially if it's like a group of artists like you guys. If a group of artists decides to play this, they can actually draw out the characters and just come up with it. Would be fun.
It also kind of keeps things different every time, so no one playthrough is exactly the same.
So if you play this tournament again, you could end up with people from Unaliva surviving. You could end up with the provinces that got kicked out being there, and they could be entirely different groups of people when you met them the next time.
This is good. Yeah. It's really creative. Like, I've never seen a campaign done like this before.
All right. Well, that's really nice to hear.
Especially since we might be able to publish this.
Yeah.
I think that maybe if it did have more, like in the beginning.
Yeah, more structure.
Some more side quests.
I think at least to get the players started
in the
off.
right direction.
Yeah, kind of like basically like the tutorial thing.
So main thing we're hearing now is just have an objective at the beginning. Like some objective when you get put in the village of. What do you want to do?
Would you guys have preferred if you had walked in and gone straight to performing? What would you have liked?
I think that the openness of it is a good thing, but it just like what you had said, like the guard saying like, oh, be sure to peruse the establishments before returning to your barracks or whatever, because like, or maybe even just going as far as to be like, the tavern is where you can find a drink and some food or whatever, the PE is where you can get equipment for yourselves or whatever. So then it gives like, oh, okay, so if we want to get, like, if we have an idea in mind that we want to do, we can go to the equipment area to get that. Or
Right.
So kind of get some basic like description from the guards as to what building does what.
Yes.
Or,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like kind of like a little fish.
All right.
In any direction, it's just be nice. But you don't have to do something like an order, like, oh, the king says go to the tavern.
okay, what if you guys,
just like subtle shiz.
What if you guys had got your letter about what the performance was going to be about in the beginning, before the thing? Would you have?
I actually really like how it was done, how we did it. Where it was just kind of like random, and the characters had to adjust to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I will say those are also decided by a D6. So
Yeah,
we choose randomly 2 of those stats to go off of.
Okay.
Yeah. As well as what was inside the letter too. That could have been the letter you got for invitation to dinner. That can be one of 3 potential side quests you can get. There's also 2 items or 2 or 3 items you can get out of that letter as well. Including knitting needles. Those do have a real use.
Sweet.
Like knitting.
Yes. And they have a use for a very particular NPC.
Obscure side quest.
Yeah, it is indeed an obscure side quest. That is not marked.
You knit the king a new beard.
Be great, but no.
We'll let you keep on.
Yeah, we'll let you keep on thinking about that. So,
The hint was in the artwork.
And he wears it.
that's really all I guess we were thinking right now. Unless there's any other feedback, do you guys want to go ahead and do the side quest?
Do what?
Do the dinner side quest, or would you prefer to save that for another time?
What do you mean by another time?
Like if you wanted to like
Reconvene like the
reconvene at some point later. Another stream
You guys
potentially,
wanna call it quits,
another
or-
side game. We're also game to keep going for a little bit longer. That's y'all's choice.
I mean, I'd be down to do it today because I'm having a lot of fun, so.
All right,
We're game for continuing if y'all are.
that's one.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I think the dinner side quest would be good. We should check back in after that to see if we want.
All right.
Okay, cool.
It'd be great feedback too.
Is
Yeah.
Studio Bunny back yet? I saw
I
that
think he
was.
I think he just came back.
He's back. All right, you're back. Dope.
Everybody is here, I believe.
All right.
Yeah.
So, if the party is ready, would you guys care to venture over to the sewer grate behind the forcibly married gnome.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's go.
So, as your party approaches the sewer grate, you do indeed see several guards towards the top of it, waiting for something. So you go over and you hand them the letter, to which they open up the grate and point down a ladder that leads into the city's sewers.
Did you pull up the map?
Oh yes, we need that map.
Oh, I got it. I was just waiting.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Wait till you read the description though.
Well, I guess we'll go.
All right.
Everybody starts climbing down.
So you enter the sewer and you are immediately met with a stench that can only be described as lizard mixed with something very oddly similar to the ale you smelled at the forcibly married gnome the other night. You appear to be in a long tunnel that extends into quite discomforting darkness, and in the distance you can faintly hear something that sounds like draconic bickering. The tunnel is fairly empty, save for some strange-looking sewer gunk and a single lit torch with a note attached.
Can I do perception to read the note, or would that be investigation?
That would just be, you can just go look at it. It's well lit enough.
Okay, I'm gonna look at it.
All right, so you pick up the note, and it's also clearly written by the king, and it says,
To my dismay, the princess has come down with a bout of lizard flu and will not be in attendance tonight. Her family, however, is still eagerly awaiting your arrival. Enjoy.
as you read this note, you kind of look up, and the last ray of light from that entry into the sewer shuts as they drop the great lid behind you. The only way is towards the draconic bickering.
Oh, dear Lord in heaven above.
Here we go.
All right.
Starts walking.
So, as you progress down this tunnel, the cacophony of bickering goes louder, more intense, and finally you enter into a dimly lit room. At the center of this room is a very large, shoddily made wooden table with about 5 kobolds gathered around it. Very much in what appears to be a heated discussion. The table is littered with rolls of parchment, strange multifaceted stones with crudely painted numerical symbols on the side. Each of the kobolds seems to be dressed quite strangely. The one in the far right corner of the table is wearing a shabby cloth hood with a thick black eyeliner. The one to the left wears a very large conical hat, a mop on his face that somewhat looks like a beard, and holds a mop handle like it was a staff. Across the table, a kobold sits with a bucket on his head, holding a barrel-like lid as a shield. The kobold next to him is wearing a very curly yellow corn shuck wig, what appears to be 2 small horns sticking out of its head, holding a makeshift short bow, which does not look like it's very functional, and has attached what appear to be hooves to its feet. At the head of the table, a kobold sits in dark robes behind a very thin wooden screen, shouting down at the others. It kind of looks like they're either in the middle of doing some sick satanic ritual or playing some form of primitive game. As you enter, the kobold at the head of the table looks up, is clearly displeased at what you have just entered it on, snarls, and at that point, all the other kobolds suddenly turn their heads to look at you. Combat has started.
Roll initiative.
Roll for initiative.
Well, I was. Wait. We didn't hear that.
So, like, they're dressed as us?
It could be
I
a
do
deterrent
have to
insult
say,
too.
Real
It could
doesn't
be
have
insulting
horns,
character.
actually.
My B.
That's okay, it's just giant ears.
They're kobolds. They're not very good at costuming.
Hey, that is a bad stereotype.
Yeah.
Hey, you kill kobolds viciously every time we play D&D.
I mean,
You have
did
no
you-
right to say that.
I mean, did you see the one with the really sick eyeliner? He was having.
They're having a good time there.
Yeah.
But they are now very much annoyed that you have interrupted
And now they're pissed.
their primitive game.
Yeah, they're gonna fight you now.
They are going to fight you, so roll for initiative.
They're
All right,
really-
they have rolled.
Is there an initiative bonus?
I guess just add. Would it be add
Uh,
dexterity?
Add
Oh, yeah.
dex bonus.
Okay.
that's a really good roll.
No, you're there.
Alright, if you can pull up the couple help.
21.
We'll be sharing.
Dang.
Yeah, she has a +3 in her dex. So.
Dexy boy.
There we go.
Alrighty.
Alright,
So,
who got what in their initiative?
we got right there.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so
Alrighty. So it looks like at least 2 of you will be able to move before the kobolds at the table really have a chance to pull out any of their various kobold weaponry. So, looks like first up will be Ravel. I got you. Riel, sorry.
Okay, so. I guess they just look like they're about to fight. I'm so bad at going first. I guess she just gets out her, short bow real fast, and it's like, oh, I guess we're fighting now!
Alrighty.
And, I guess she'll aim at the one who, is,
They're numbered. They're numbered
Yeah.
on the map.
They are numbered on the map.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
okay.
3 is the
Head of the table.
Head of the table.
And we're what?
3 is the head of the table.
Okay. So she'll just. I want her to aim at the one who had the short bow.
Alright, so that's gonna be kobold.
that's number 2.
Number 2.
The the corn shuck wig and the
Yes.
shoddy short bow.
That is going to be kobold 2.
Okay,
so
so she'll take aim to that one.
Alright, are you gonna go ahead and fire now?
Yes, she will.
Alrighty, go ahead and roll for that.
Oh, that's not a great roll. +5 though, so that's good. Okay, so and that is 15.
You just got him.
So you do indeed plant the arrow, although it's not quite a great shot. It still hits the kobold. The kobold appears to be fairly wounded. So go ahead and roll to see damage on that.
Okay. I think it's just 2. If I'm correct, I just roll a d6 and that's it, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
So,
that's just 2.
all right, you do 2 points of damage. They appear to be fairly wounded. They appear to be fairly wounded, maybe about halfway towards death at most.
Oh.
Dang.
You
monster!
Clearly, it's a little bit wounded in emotions as well because it appears that its idol just shot it. It's giving you kind of puppy eyes of betrayal, but also still snarling at you because if given the chance, it would kill you and take your place.
Lovely.
Well,
It really admires you.
The reaction to that is, oh, I should have aimed a little higher.
Oh!
Wow.
You can hear the echoing in the sewer tunnels.
Yeah, sadly you can't deal burn damage, but the kobold really is offended.
Oh!
Alright.
Okay, who is,
Next up we have a 19.
who is, okay, Studio Bunny, you're up.
Alright, Kimberly.
Okay, I'm gonna jump across the table and try and hit the head of the table, number 3.
Alright, you go lunge over the table to the kobold in the dark robes.
Alright, you want to roll to hit?
Yep, I got, let's see what my modifier from Great Sword is. 19 plus 1. So
Alright,
You hit him.
you hit him. Roll damage.
let's see. 6 damage.
He be.
Oh, he is straight up dead. You swing your great sword with quite a bit of force, so much force in fact that the robes and the kobold's head fall off. Clearly the kobolds are going to have to find a new person to manage this primitive game of theirs. Yeah, wow. The other kobolds are kind of stunned. They never thought that this primitive game could become quickly so real.
Wait, which origin is
Hit the head of the table.
Kobold 3 is now dead.
He would have to run past Kobold 1 and 2. Does that not
He jumped off the table.
Oh, he
Yeah.
jumped over the table.
Jumped off the table.
Yeah, he's fine.
Alright. Kobold 3 is no more. So, next up, one of the kobolds.
Yeah, we got the kobold's turn.
All right, so Kobold 4 is upset, clearly.
He had been looking forward to this whole
Yeah.
ritual all night,
Yeah.
and now you came and ruined it.
It started out as just fun and games, and then you barged in and straight up murdered someone. One of his friends, too. So Kobold 4 is going to go straight for Kimberly.
All right.
Kobold 4 did a very poor job of going straight for Kimberly and kind of tripped while he was trying to get up on the table to get to you.
Tiny kobold legs.
Yeah, tiny little kobold legs do not work so well.
I will never forget what
We
that
still
noise
don't know what that sound is.
I think it's like steam coming from the
It's
sewers at this
sound
point.
of kobold
Yeah,
sadness.
it's the sound of kobold sadness because it flips over the table. It lands kind of stunned, gets up woozily, but clearly it can't do anything effective right now.
Yeah. All right. We're doing one or
One more kobold.
all right. All right. The
All right, Kobold 1 is has kind of finished looking around to make sure that its friend with the arrow is not yet dead, even though it's fairly close. And Kobold 1 decides, you know what? It's probably a better idea at this point to go after the large man with the greatsword who still, again, decapitated one of my friends.
because that's such a great idea.
So Kobold 2 as well is going to make an attempt.
oh, we did.
Kobold 2 is a lot better than the very, very clumsy friend of his, and jumps up on the table and does indeed swing at you. So roll for dodge.
I don't even know that was there.
Yeah, you can roll dex to try to dodge, although it's going to be real high.
Let's see. I got a 16.
All right, now the kobold is still going to hit you.
I figured.
All right,
And
alrighty. All right, so the kobold does lightly get its teeth on you, gives you a few scratches. You take 1 point of damage.
Oosh.
It's like a little
Clearly,
boo-boo.
clearly, its successful jump was a lot less powerful than its, or a lot more powerful than its less successful bite.
yep.
Feels kind of like a large cat was just kind of scratching at you.
I stand menacingly over it.
All right. Next up, Owlet.
Okay, Owlet's going to attack. Which one? Number 12.
All right. Kobold number 4 is still kind of dazed on top of that table.
Okay. I think you can only. Well, it's not even considered, so he will attack with. He's gonna attack with his staff.
All right.
So you're gonna whack him with the staff.
Whack him with the staff.
I'm gonna whack him.
All right.
One
So
kobold.
as you get closer to kobold number 4, kobold number 5 is still kind of beside the table. You can probably try to get at him from the other side of the table, like poke him kind of from a distance, hit him from a distance. But you may have a little less good aim that way. So would you like to try to go around to hit 4 on the table, or would you like to try to go after 5?
Owlet's gonna want to hit 5.
All right, so you're gonna go after
I mean,
5.
I don't want to, but he has to.
Yeah, so it probably is a better choice than to go hit 5, although it'll be like probably -1 or 2 to try to hit 4.
So you gonna get it.
So, all right, go ahead and roll the hit.
Roll the hits. Okay, 16. Yeah, I'm so surprised.
Get on.
All right, so you did get him, so roll for damage. 3 damage. All right, so this kobold does get hit. It is you give him a good beating. You can see probably he's battered. He's clearly stumbling around. You probably hurt him well enough that he may not even know who he is at this point.
Yeah,
But
he's gonna.
he is indeed still alive.
You beat him into existential crisis.
Yeah, you beat him to the point where both existential crisis and long-term brain damage.
Yeah. Also keep in mind that this one, was the one dressed as the wizard with the mop beard. So wizard whacking a wizard.
Yeah. The hat's clearly off at this point.
If the kobold had IQ points to begin with, that
They are
Yeah.
gone now.
If it had intelligence, it's gone. You think at this point that the cone hat, like, his head is now probably in the shape that cone hat would have been in.
Oh.
Like, you have beaten the crap out of this kobold. He's still kind of hanging on.
He's not dead yet, but
Yeah, he's very close. He's very close.
very.
How many points of damage was it again?
3.
Okay.
Alrighty. So, kobold number 5 at this point is ooh, he's hurting, but he is still going to attempt to move.
That's a dodge, right?
Attack.
Okay.
He's gonna try to attack.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Honestly, he's probably not gonna get very far. He does move. He moves he kind of shrinks back though a little bit. In his brain damaged state, he's probably either hallucinating and seeing multiple of several people in the room, or he's just desperately now into fight or flight, so he backs up from the table. He is now somewhat situated near the corpse of kobold number 3.
Oof.
Alright, and finally, we move to our last party member.
Hell yeah. Okay. So I am going to run up to that poor kobold and attempt to put him out of his misery.
Alrighty. Go ahead and roll the hit.
Will 13 suffice?
No.
No.
Right.
You get close. Maybe it's those puppy dog eyes. Maybe it just feels really bad to beat up on somebody who clearly had a rough day at this point, but you kind of hesitate a little bit. He shrinks back further. Nobody's a winner in this scenario. It's just very uncomfortable.
I'm going to apologize and it's my turn.
All right.
The kobold is like dizzy. He doesn't even register.
He clearly cannot. If he couldn't understand human speech before, not a chance in hell now. He is hurting.
They're all pretty much hurting at this point.
This kobold would be in rehab for the rest of his life and still not recover.
Poor baby.
You have horribly damaged this kobold.
You can't tell about the one with the bucket on his head though, because his face is completely hidden.
Yeah.
All right, so I think next is like going back around to
Would like to re-roll for initiative?
Would you re-roll?
Re-roll?
You guys want to re-roll for initiative?
Is that a thing?
I didn't know that was a thing.
In this case, we are going to have it a thing.
It can be a thing. Yeah.
To extend, for the sake of partially extending combat, honestly, we're going to make it a thing in this case.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, reroll. This is a much better roll than my, wow, why do I keep getting 13 for everything? But this is not 13.
Alrighty.
Nat 20 this round.
Woo! Alright.
You get to go first, my dude.
Waste.
Oh no, the kobolds can get a nat 22.
Ouch. Zen, that hurts. Alright. Alright. Did you guys add bonuses onto there as well?
I have 0 bonuses.
Alright.
Yeah, because nat 20.
Alright, so Kimberly, it is your turn.
Okay.
Clearly you have already slaughtered one of their friends. Shall you try to slaughter several more?
I'm going for the one that bit me last round.
Alright, so that is gonna be Kobold
That was-
1.
Yeah, that was Kobold.
Kobold 1. Kobold 1's still slightly nearby. He is he's even more fired up now that he's watched one of his friends die and one of his friends be mentally crippled for life.
He's feeling a little spicy.
Oh, and another one of his friends has an arrow into him. So he's real intent on
He's
defending.
like he's holding his barrel little shield up, like he's ready to go.
He's real ready. He's ready to fight.
I'm like, that's really cute.
All right.
I got 17 plus 1.
Oh dear.
Oh, you hit him.
Yeah, you hit him. Roll.
He's dead.
Oh no.
I did 9 damage to this thing.
He's more than dead.
You have obliterated the second You have obliterated Kobold 1.
He has nothing but a bucket and a pail. He has nothing but a bucket and a barrel
Yeah,
lid now.
almost nothing of this kobold remains.
Except for the bucket and the pail lid.
Small bits of kobold goes everywhere. At this point, the kobold with the arrow in it, has kind of accepted this point that this is not going to end well for any of the kobolds involved in this scenario. The kobold who has been beaten beyond recognition is whimpering at this point. He's like shaking back and forth in the corner, like rocking slightly. This is clearly just
Pandemonium.
this is just a straight up kobold massacre. If this airs on the Kobold News, they're gonna have to censor everything.
Real's just straight up like plotting Kimberly.
So Kimberly has now obliterated a kobold and destroyed like 3 provinces.
Yeah, Kimberly right now is the angel of death. Kimberly has caused the death of 4 provinces. One of them only by himself. 3 of the others through competition, and has now killed 2 kobolds and probably emotionally scarred the rest of the survivors that will shortly be dead. Like he is ooh boy.
Yep.
Ooh boy.
So Elobi, you're next.
Hope you're happy, Kimberly.
Oh yeah, Kimberly is not thrilled by this, but I am absolutely loving it.
Sure.
All right.
I'm just so happy right now.
All right, so Kimberly,
So what was next?
She's
All right.
crying and like jumping up and down, very excited.
What is wrong with her?
Yeah, Evilly, you're up.
all right.
I just
Yeah, Evilly's next.
Okay, okay, Eloise's gonna stop crying and try and kill Kobold for it again.
Okay.
All right. What are you gonna roll this time?
16?
That hit him.
All right, yeah.
Okay,
Roll damage.
okay, +1.
How much?
Oh, shit, I just did 9 damage.
He's
All right,
dead.
well- You were very quick to put him out of his misery. He's very much dead. He looks a little bit more peaceful now. At least the parts of him that remain look a little bit more peaceful now. I think with like in the amount of damage this kobold just received, he actually looks awkwardly similar to like how he was before he died. Like you reshaped his whole like all of this kobold once more. Bits that were sticking out or not. Honestly, Mortician should be jealous of you at this point.
Oh wow.
But the kobold has passed on. You have put it out of its misery.
And now it's the rest of the turn.
You have committed kobold euthanasia
Yeah.
at this rate.
Now it's the kobold's turn, or at least whoever is left standing.
There is, I think kobold.
The number 5.
Kobold
and
five.
Has
number-
an arrow in his chest.
Kobold 5 and Kobold 2. Kobold 2 is still has an arrow, and in them, and Kobold 5
It's
is
like all the mental damage right now.
no Kobold 5's fine. Kobold 5's fine, but emotionally scarred.
Oh, yeah.
Emotionally traumatized.
Well, still mental damage.
Yeah, Kobold 5 is like Kobold 5 is just very sad. There is not a small grate he could squeeze his way out of at this point.
I think you want to go whack the wizard now.
All right, so Kobold 5 indeed is Kobold 5's just about had enough of this. So even if it knows it will indeed die in vain,
It's
it
going
will,
to take someone with him.
It will try.
All right, so it's going after the.
It's going after Owlet.
Yep.
Oh, the kobold is furious, and that rage does indeed transfer to it very quickly lunging at Owlet. So it is going to roll for damage.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
a 3.
Its rage very much is real, so it does hit you for 3 damage.
How much damage?
3 damage.
Oh my god.
So it's mad. It was very mad.
It kneecapped ya.
The spirits of the spirits of its dead kobold friends manifested in support behind it. It was furious.
Yeah.
Don't worry, that won't last very long.
It was straight up
Oh
pissed.
my god.
Like, got berserk like boondock kobolds over here.
It's
furious.
This is a firefight.
Like, you wanted a kobold war, you got it.
Yeah.
Like, this kobold brought it.
Speaking of which, kobold number 2 is up.
Speaking of which, kobold number 2 is powered by the passion of kobold number 5 and will attempt to move now.
There are consequences for kobold genocide, guys.
Yeah.
There are consequences.
You may find yourself brought in front of a panel of people for ethical treatment of kobolds.
I think the nearest one is Kimberly, so we'll probably go after him.
Yeah. Okay, so it is going to indeed go after Kimberly.
Okay.
Yeah, Pet K, indeed. Yeah. It gets you pretty fast, Kimberly.
Like just barely, but yes.
It's barely, but it's there. So it will roll for damage at this point.
Oh.
Well, it may not have gotten very close to you, but I'll be damned if that kobold don't bite.
That's a 4.
That does 4 damage to you.
That's a 4, my bro.
Ooh.
Yeah, Kimberly definitely feels that one.
Yeah, it's that thing was mad. Like between the pain of the arrow in it,
Yeah, detect the shots.
the wig is probably getting a little bit in its eyes too. Watching all of its friends be brutally assaulted.
Oh yeah.
And then being further powered by the passion of one of its final kobold ally.
It's at the same time you also made this kobold's dream come true. He's a true adventurer.
He is a true adventurer.
He's
now.
a true adventurer now. Good job, guys.
It has become. It is dying like it always wanted to.
Okay.
He looks at him and he's like, "Are you really sure you want to go out this way?"
I think he doesn't really get.
Charm the kobold.
Would you like to try to roll charm?
No.
All right.
Then at that point, he's just like he doesn't really care at this point.
The kobold snarls. It's still furious.
And I think now it is Owlet's turn.
Yes. Now Owlet.
It's
You have been
trying to end it out.
damaged, but it is now your turn.
Owlet is hurting. He's like, I don't want to fight anymore.
Oh, yeah.
But he's gonna fight.
Player's gotta play.
Yeah. Real quick, I did just see that too, that you did roll an 11.
Yeah.
I apologize. You will go directly after. I'm sorry, I just saw that.
Wait, no, I won't fight.
You can go ahead. I'm sorry, I messed that up.
We were
but we will
going in
continue
order
that.
anyway, so we're good.
We'll go and continue that. We'll...
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's do it. Got a 7.
All right, 7.
Nope.
Not gonna work. Yeah, you hurt a little bit, so you're gonna kind of clutch where that kobold got at you, and you're not gonna make that work. That's not gonna work. All right, Revel. Real. Sorry, I keep messing that up. I apologize.
It's okay. She is gonna take aim at the kobold that's, I guess, lashed onto Kimberly's leg.
All right, so that is Kobold 2.
Yep.
That is Kobold 2, and that is indeed the one that does look like you.
Do you
Okay, cool. So she's actually she's like coming off from the laughter that she was, she was just like, everyone's doing such a good job, I love this. And she's aiming at that one, and not a great roll, but I guess her excitement is just, she's so excited that she doesn't, hit, because that's together a 10.
All right,
does not hit.
For sure. Maybe it's because Kimberly at this point is gradually more unamused. Maybe it's the aura of the kobold, like a sort of very visible, almost power around this kobold. It is so mad that it has almost a superhuman aura around it.
Divine intervention from the kobold.
It's divine intervention from the kobold gods, almost.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's very scary, very
His green
powerful.
scaly savior has come for
Yeah, and
for
it
something.
misses entirely.
Alright, and I
I feel
think
like
with
Reel's
that
just-
we roll the initiative now.
Too
All right.
excited
Let's have
to
them go ahead.
focus.
And
Okay.
take the current initiative.
Alright,
All right.
for the sake of this, we'll just keep
Keep
going
current.
around with the current initiatives. So, Kimberly is up next.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna shove my sword into this kobold that's latched on my leg.
All right. Go and
Go
roll
for
for
it.
it.
Okay, I got 15 plus 1, 16.
You got
You
it.
got him.
Roll for damage.
I'm like, bye-bye, buddy. That's a 4 damage.
All right. Yep. You're gonna kill that kobold.
He is dead.
Not quite as stylish as your previous kill, but yes. Now you add a third tally to the body count, which is this point for you. Good God. You could probably.
Wouldn't it technically be 4 if you want to count the guy who lit stuff on fire?
I mean, even more than that when you count the whole province.
The body of all the poor citizens in the province.
Then yeah, you're right. At this point,
At
it's
this
better
point,
off
you
to
could-
just say 3.
At this point, you get called in for war crimes. You have killed a lot of people.
If the king just cared at all,
If there was a medal for killing people, you would probably win it.
probably.
So yeah, you kill it.
Next.
You definitely slice it. It opens up its jaws again, lets go of your leg, and falls to the ground dead. There is one kobold remaining, kobold 5.
Yep. All right. So Ilovi is next.
Yes.
Okay, Lumi's gonna run at this that kobold 5.
All right.
And attack with her morning star or same thing.
All right.
Oh boy.
Roll for it.
15 hit?
It hits.
It hits.
Okay, that's 1d8 plus 1. 5 damage.
You kill it.
He is dead.
He's dead. It was barely enough to kill him, but as you swing it down, it breaks through the bucket that was on his head, and does in fact kill him.
Yeah.
Caves in his soul, basically.
You all take a moment to breathe. You look around you. Carnage is everywhere.
Blood splattered on
There's
the wall.
blood.
Papers, rocks.
You can see the claw marks, the trail that the kobold left before you put it out of its misery.
And the stench
to try to get behind the kobold.
And the stench of betrayal.
Yeah, the stench of betrayal, death, and on top of what was already God knows what in that sewer lingers. On the table, the die, the very valuable gem that sat with mysterious numbers written on its side, lies, ready for you to claim.
Maybe.
No, they're performing a weird ritual.
I want Riel to be like, oh, that was so much fun. I want to check everyone's pockets. And she's
Oh my gosh.
check the bodies.
Oh yeah, there's no possible loot there.
All right, would you like to roll, I guess, for perception on that?
Wisdom.
Wisdom.
Why did I roll so good for that?
What'd you roll?
19 plus 120.
Yeah, so she could
All right.
all of it.
All right.
Do you see the other possible loot?
I'm seeing where.
Other possible loot.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
She's just.
All right.
She doesn't care. She's getting all the blood on her.
All right. So you will indeed find about 12 very awkwardly sticky copper pieces off of the dead kobold you are searching, as well as a box of fireworks. You look at it, it's Marlin the Wizard's Fantastic Alchemy Fireworks. Clearly there's a sign on there that says not for children, when what appears to be a small child with a rocket lodged very, very much in their ear. There's some sparks coming out of there. It does not look pleasant, and it is a very clear warning that you should not give these fireworks to children. They appear to be very colorful, though, so that's a good bonus.
There also appears to be an unpaid tab for the forcibly married gnome, totaling at 2 silver, under the name
Zoknek Cheeto Beard. So yes, you may choose to leave that behind if you so desire. Dead kobolds cannot pay their bar tab, and there's no reason you should either.
Yeah, she takes the 12 copper and a box of fireworks, thinking that it'll be very fun.
All right.
All right.
I'm gonna take that weird number gem.
All right.
Quote unquote, that
Take
was
it.
on the table.
Take it.
All right.
You pick it up. It's kind of bloody still. It reeks of sadness.
But it looks like you could potentially sell it for some type of gold. Other than that, it's not really much functional value.
Other than that, I mean, sentimental value, if anything, in memory of the horrific events you have just
Wrought out.
You have just wrought
Yeah.
onto this poor group of.
Because there's obviously no other use for a multi-sided numbered rock.
Of course not, right?
Yeah.
Nothing comes to mind.
Okay.
So, as you pick this up, you hear kind of the sound of shifting metal coming from back behind you down the hallway, and you hear a faint voice called out, asking if anybody is still down there.
Yes, we're coming now. No, this is our chance to leave. I mean, we attended the party.
Okay, wait, let's go.
We have finished the dinner.
All right.
Fantastic!
As you poke your heads out of the sewer, the guards look down. They clearly know what was down there, and they are clearly somewhat surprised that you made it back out. As you climb out, one of the guards looks at you and just sees the blood, sees the wound, sees Kimberly's bitten leg, and just says, "Do I really want to know?"
No, I can explain it all in detail if you want.
No.
They just say, no, don't worry about it. I don't want any nightmares tonight.
Guard rolls his eyes and just goes, "Friggin' kobolds," and lets you pass.
Go down there. Those are not kobolds anymore, they're mush.
I told you not to let me know, and the guard just like, pinches his eyebrows like.
You hear slight shrieking from the forcibly married gnome. Clearly some good ale will be made tonight.
It's like, extremely forcibly merry shrieking.
Yeah. You may think you may not want to try any of the beer tonight. It may seem a little bit too familiar.
A slight tinge of lizard.
A slight tinge of lizard and a large tinge of regret.
Real doesn't regret anything.
And with that being said, you are now free for the remainder of the evening in the village of Backstage.
Hey, party, friends. So, weren't they kind of the king's friends?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I killed the first one.
Yeah.
You won't miss him. He has a whole country to pick and choose whatever he likes.
Yeah, but what if he gets mad at us?
Oh, I doubt it. He probably forgot they exist.
You hear a voice from behind you just say, "That I did!"
See? I'm good.
See, we're
Okay.
fine.
I guess I don't have to regret a thing then.
No, you don't!
It was quite entertaining, actually.
And they tasted delicious.
The smell's delightful!
He just like breaks into multiple tones of voice there for a second.
He just keeps switching. Honestly, you're not sure what's scarier, the death of the kobolds or the fact that the king is now switching tones, like, constantly.
Oh my lord! Are you
Probably
okay?
because of him.
No! I have a stomachache! I ate too much!
Oh,
Okay then! And just like that, he runs off.
Yeah, he's like in the little like you know how little kids will like run off.
Now, just in case, would anybody like to roll for perception?
I would love to. I rolled a 19 plus,
Why did you do that?
Okay.
Well, I guess you weren't here earlier, so yeah. You look closely, and
As the king is running, his kilt happens to lift up, and you can see the full moon tonight.
except in addition to this full moon, you see what appears to be like a very small sticky like note almost on his back.
Oh yeah.
It just says, "If you're reading this," and then following it is a winky face.
Oh my god. Real, since she rolled 19 plus 1, so 20, so I'm guessing she read that.
Oh yeah.
You have full permission to vomit.
Oh no, she's very happy at what she's just seen.
Well then.
Whoa!
Well, it takes all types.
kinky?
Hey.
Hey! Kinky, more like king
She's very
key.
pleased.
Yeah.
More like king key. Ha 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 ha.
Pat, pat, pat. You can hear the wind whisper. That was a terrible
Yeah.
joke, DM.
You hear the wind whisper that I should be fully ashamed for making that joke.
Go into your corner, DM.
No.
The wind is incitedly chatty tonight.
All right, and
I have to say her positive emotions are purely for the fact that she thinks it's funny.
Okay.
I would hope so.
all right, and with that being said, what did you guys think of the side quests?
That was funny.
That was great.
To
Right.
absolutely destroy everybody in sight.
Yeah, not gonna lie, we did not expect that much damage in one go.
Yeah, we did not expect you to guys to roll so high
Yeah.
and get so brutal.
We'll probably extend kobold health a little bit because the high end of that was 5 that the kobolds could have for health, so we'll probably make that more 5 to 10 instead.
Yeah, because my short bow is 1d6. And
Or like, I'd say then 6 to 12.
Yeah, my flail is 1d8 plus 1.
Yeah, I would say then probably maybe even 6 to 14.
I'd say
Yeah,
six
for health.
Well, because they're
Right, so it
kobolds,
does
they're not gonna do
do
that
10,
much.
So.
Yeah.
The number modifier in the book that we took it from reference from was like there should be 40 kobolds for a party, and I was like, damn.
That, yeah, nah. We
So we're gonna want to up that somehow.
up the health, let's say. Yeah, so we will up the health on those kobolds because
What the hell would you even do with 40
apparently the
kobolds?
reference we
XP
used.
farm.
Yeah, apparently the reference we used said there should be about 40 kobolds for one party.
So we're gonna not.
So yeah, we clearly misjudged that one.
They're just well-seasoned kobolds. They'll be more powerful.
How much health did you guys?
Have costumes that
Yeah.
tell
For those
that.
of you who
They
got
read up.
wounded,
They read
how
up,
much
they know
health
the
did you
rules.
have remaining?
They know maybe
I'll
even
have
some
4
parkour. Like they.
Oh
Alright.
yeah.
6 left.
All right, so pretty damaging. Would you guys say that was fairly fair though? For
Yeah.
that?
On
You
our
were
part,
kind
sure. On
slower
the
than
kobold
them,
part, probably not.
Yeah.
We probably did not expect that.
Yeah, we will probably up the health and keep the damage the same then.
Yeah, that sounds good.
that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Overall content, would you say, of how that fight played out?
I thought it
That
was.
was fun.
I thought it was really fun and funny that you made the kobolds dressed as our characters.
Yeah. That actually was a little bit personalized. I kind of changed. Originally, they were kind of dressed like archetypes, but I kind of did
Yeah.
kind of improv that one a little bit.
No, that was good. I like that. Was a lot of fun to picture.
Like, you're a really descriptive DM, and that's fantastic because, like, it just makes everything, like, more fun and, like, you get a better understanding of, like, what's going on, and so it's, like, really immersive, and I like it.
Entire moment of honesty here. I said earlier that I don't DM much. This is actually the first time I've ever DM'd.
What?
I have never DM'd before.
There you go.
Well, now you guys got your group DM.
Yeah,
Your DM version.
I just write a lot.
That's what makes you good at it, dude.
Yeah, I'm a game major and I'm a creative writing minor.
Ooh.
Game. Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that y'all have liked it thus far.
Like,
No, I think you're doing a very good job.
Well, thank you.
yeah.
I'm
I
aware
appreciate
that
that.
DMing is a terrifying prospect.
Yeah.
Because I have been attempting to bring up the courage to start and have not.
It's
Me too.
A couple
Honestly-
nights ago, we were in a D&D campaign, and Jace, not Jace, it was but Studio Bunny killed everyone within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's
Okay, but that was with a random one, and that's
I'm so mad about it.
My one story that I had from that is like one of the characters rolled to investigate a door and found that it was trapped, and then somebody else's character
Oh,
rolled to saw it was not trapped in their mind because they didn't pass the thing to see it, and they got obliterated immediately.
Yeah.
Sorry.
messy.
all right. Are there any other notes you guys want to add? At this point, I think we're gonna wrap it up in a little bit here.
Yeah. that sounds good.
Are there any comments in general on anything we've done tonight, or anything you guys have played tonight that you would like to add in?
No, I
This
think
is like off topic, but can I have like a more of a warning for the schedule? Because like I didn't know it was happening today, and that's why I showed up so late. I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah,
my bad.
no,
I
that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry about that. If you guys want to continue doing this campaign, honestly, I am more than game to be y'all's DM again, if you would like.
I mean, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed
Yeah.
the characters, and it's fun playing Riel.
I'd be
But
down to do it again.
up to y'all.
All right.
I would be too. We should keep this up.
Sure. In regards to the module itself, we should have it all, or the adventure itself, we should have it all finished by Thursday, which is indeed when it is due. If you guys would like a copy of that at the end, or a copy of the version, if the group's okay with it, if the rest of y'all are okay with it, we'd be happy to give it to you, I guess.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
That'd be gorgeous.
Group, are we okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. Then
Hell yeah.
after it is all assembled, we will, I guess, send a PDF of that to y'all.
Cool.
But if they
I'll
read
take
it,
a
will they
big
know
ol'
some of
read.
the-
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
they'll know
although
stuff.
be warned, if you do read it, you will have
spoiled.
several major spoilers.
No
in there for you.
metagaming.
Please don't
Okay,
metagame.
if it's spoiled,
Yeah.
then
Honestly, I'm not gonna read it if it's gonna spoil.
Yeah, but
things.
if you would like that for, if you choose to run your own version of this later, then we are happy to provide that for you.
Yeah, I'd like to have
Um,
that for once the whole thing's done.
On a personal note, and I guess on behalf of the group, thank you guys so much. This was a lot of fun. We did get some good feedback. We have a few things that we need to tweak, but overall, it's fun to see people play what we make.
Yeah, it's super,
Yeah.
super
Yeah,
fun.
and it's fun to see people enjoying it.
I had a lot fun playing my character and being strange.
Awesome. Well.
I'm glad I got to be the straight man of the group. That was fun.
Yeah.
You were.
There was no straight man in this group. And I'm still
Well, ow.
like,
Kim tried to be.
There was a lot of massacre. You got it.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Yeah.
You know, you
And more to come.
And more to come
after
potentially.
I killed an entire province accidentally, I was just like, well, I guess I'm just gonna go with this. Murder spree.
All right. Well, with that being said, I wish you all a great rest of your day or evening. And thank you again so much. For those of you watching the stream, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it as well, and we hope to see you again.
Thank you, Happy Packers. Bye.
Thank you for DMing this and allowing me to play.
Bye.
Thank you for letting me play, too.
Yep.
Thank you. Bye.
Like my horrible, awful likeness.